Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. I know it's surprising to hear from me today, as most listeners that pay attention know I'm out of town this week. But with everything that's going on in the world, I wanted to talk to my favorite radio personality,
Drew?
Erock,
Oh,
Erik Nagel. Yeah, dude. Whenever I'm looking for like who's the savant in the industry, it's you that I text and stuff like that. Longtime producer of O&A. It's Erik Nagel on all the socials or on YouTube or wherever. It's ericnagel.com. Figure everything out you need. But yeah, we're a few minutes late. Nagel was a few minutes late.
yeah.
So how you doing, buddy?
Well, good. I'm glad you, at least you appreciate and think I'm some sort of radio savant. I just was on
Yeah.
one of these podcasts recently,
Yep.
and I got a handful of people saying it's like Erock pretends like he knows everything, but he really knows absolutely nothing. I'm sick of hearing from him. It's like I work in the business. I'm still
Yeah.
I got my foot in the industry here, so I know things. And that's why he had me. If I didn't know anything, then why am I here wasting everybody's time?
Here's the thing. And if you've worked in the business
Mhm.
for any length of time, there are a handful of guys that even inside the biggest shows or the biggest stations that are like super nerds about the industry. They read the industry mags, they're FMQB guys, they're
None of those
money.
companies exist, by the way.
Really, are they all gone now?
FMQB's gone. Radio and Record, the radio mags
R&R.
have been
Yeah.
gone almost 20 years. Yeah.
And it almost bums me out because I just blew all that shit up. It's like I'm doing the morning show. I don't fucking care about whatever. But but I look back now and I go, God, I wish I would have paid more attention to the programming end of things. And
Why? We all wound up in the same spot, so it
yeah,
doesn't matter.
but it means that I have to go to guys like you and go, hey, what's going on in the radio industry or in the satellite industry? And I really enjoy talking to you, Erik, because I do feel like, and there's a few guys I worked with at Riff that would fall into this category too, but that really kind of have a grasp on everything going on. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's I mean, take it for what it's worth, just because if you still have any insight to the industry or knowing how things are going, pretty much useless and
Yeah.
pointless because it's heading one way. There's no way to pull out of this nosedive,
Yeah.
and you just got to sit there and like, well, I'm just gonna have to be around here to watch it crash, and then when it happens, be like, oh my, it crashed. I didn't see that coming.
I
And
I didn't see it coming this well, I did. I did see it coming. But not quite like this. I wonder what it'll look like in 5 years. Like, do you think radio is dead in 5 years?
well, here's the thing: the vehicle of radio will still be around and functioning. I just think any of the content doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, from the business end, as far as an actual radio station in most of the markets around the country, they still will make advertising money. You'll still get a return on investment for sales and marketing and things like that. It just doesn't matter now who is the morning show. Half the morning shows in most of the markets are either syndicated from bigger markets or they're just people there to read liner notes, take
Yeah.
phone calls to give away concert tickets or something. They're not doing shows. And if they are doing shows, none of them are notable or memorable. That it used to be, what city are you from? Oh, I'm from Milwaukee. Oh yeah, I know such and such is on the air over there, or you guys in Detroit, or these people in Vegas. Like you knew who was where, and you knew who
Right.
was syndicated. You knew people. You didn't think of like, well, they're only on in San Francisco, and so they're not really a big deal, or they're not really a success. No, they've been on in San Francisco over 25 years. That's successful. That's good.
Right.
Um, the days of, well, if you're not national, it doesn't mean anything anymore, are here, but not for the prestige level. It means if you're not being nationally syndicated, your show's probably going to get let go and replaced by somebody that's nationally syndicated because it's just cost effective and easy now.
Yeah.
Syndication used to be a point of pride, like your show does so well, we're going to try you in other markets and try to make money and expand this thing. Now it's you're on in this market here. Well, we're going to put you on several other stations throughout the region. of where you are in the country, just because we own those stations and it's easy to pipe in your show and do all that stuff. Am I making money from all those things? No, not really. Maybe a couple some ratings bonuses and stuff, but it's not like we had I had a friend who was on in New York, of all places, New York City. They're not on anymore. They haven't been on in a few years, but they were on a show called Kane and Corey. And Kane used to be on K-Rock in New York. He was a jock and stuff like that. Kane and Altar Boy, Kane and Cabby from Howard Stern. Like, the Kane's been around for a while. They were doing their show. They started putting their show on in other markets. Some of the times they didn't even know they were on in another market. They just put the show on there, but they were still doing a New York-based show. Like, they didn't alter it to fit a broader audience. Yeah, they just do you're only here for your New York show. You're only being paid for your New York show.
Yeah.
We put them on in several other markets. They weren't getting money from the other stations. They weren't getting bonuses or syndication deals. Their contract was for them to be on in New York, and the company just said, well, we're going to put them on in other spots. That's how bad it got. You could be syndicated accidentally or syndicated on purpose, but you are the last to know.
That's crazy. I thought I would have thought they got paid per market. So they would absolutely
normally when you were syndicated, but they call it simulcasting. If it's within the company, it's simulcasting. So the wording's different. They don't have to pay. They don't have to do stuff with an agent and what have you.
But I would think those advertising dollars would be radically different. Like, you can't have local advertising in New York City and expect Milwaukee that's worth
no. You have your
anything.
Local ads for the radio. But then you would have,
that's true. Yeah.
You would have national and regional ads on the live stream or the app or whatever you were doing. So the live radio show goes to break. You hear commercials in New York. What you're hearing online or on the apps in other markets are a mix of national and then what they call like geotag. So it's funny. I've had listeners send me copies of our show when iHeart puts it out. Some of my ads are in Spanish.
And really? In LA or something?
No, New York, because New York, Dominican, Puerto Rican, there's a big Latino audience residency in the New York City area.
Yeah.
So I didn't think about that. And somebody wrote me and he goes, why are some of your ads in Spanish all the time? What are you talking? I don't put the ads on the show, so I don't know.
Yeah.
And they sent me like a copy, an air check, if you will. And I'm listening to it and I went, why is it? Oh, wait, we're in New York. Puerto Rican, Dominican, all of that. There's a big Spanish market in as part of New York. So it's geotagging that because they're in the New York area, but you could listen to my show anywhere else and you're hearing ads for things in other parts of the country mixed in with national spots and what have you. So they make all that money. They just don't care what's in between. It used to be, well, what's airing in between the show? Like in the segments of the show. Now it's what's airing in between the sales breaks.
Yeah.
Just put whatever's in the middle there. As long as the commercials are on the air, who cares what's in the middle of those things? So it goes back to the morning show stuff, where it doesn't matter if you're doing a morning show unless they really are invested and have you. The CEO of iHeart a couple months ago, and you can look this up. There's a Rolling Stone article, I believe it's Rolling Stone article, where they were talking to him about some things. They only care about the app. They said the app's doing well. The ad revenue for the app is doing okay. And that it's getting to the point now where they're only going to be concerned for 5 syndicated shows. Biggest company in the United States. And they're eventually only going to care about 5 syndicated shows.
Why would that be?
Because that's all they care about. They'll just put all those 5 shows on every station they got.
Wow. Yeah, just the same thing all over the country. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that used to be what was great about the Drew and Mike show is the local of it. And that's the fear of syndication is like, oh, now you got to cater to all these. Did you guys change much at all when you went to syndication? Because that's how I became aware of you guys, but I never got the feeling you changed much on the Opie and Anthony show.
The fortunate part was being in New York City. I mean, the unfortunate part was being in New York City too, but I'll explain that in a second. But being in New York City, because sometimes local New York City news was also national news.
Mm-hmm.
So what seemed to be something that would just be concerned to New York is actually being carried all across the country because it's something that happened in New York. Same thing with LA. Something could happen in LA. You'd think, oh, it's just an LA story, but it's all over the news because it's Los Angeles. So it was easy to make that transition. They went into the first round of syndication. They did it before I got there, and they just eased up on a lot of the local talk about, hey, I'm from Long Island too, and they're telling Long Island stories, into still being them and just talking how they want to talk, but either making it self-centric about characters in the world around the show, or bigger news stories that would, anywhere around the country, you would pick up a newspaper and see that story there too.
Right.
Again, newspapers, because early 2000s when that was happening.
Yeah.
But the downside of being in New York too is that sometimes you get pumped into markets and they're like, I don't want to listen to these guys from New York City. I don't give a shit about New York City, even though we're not talking exclusively about New York City. You're from New York City. So there's a lot of places in the country that don't care about anything coming out of LA, don't care about anything coming out of New York City. And that's even before the current climate of politics and policies and things like that. They were just like, I don't want to hear that kind of stuff. They want to hear stuff that's resembles them. So sometimes you get pumped into markets and you're like, well, you're number one in all these markets. How come they took you off there? Because nobody was listening, or they didn't care that we were on in that
Did you guys
market.
find that you had markets that just didn't care?
We did. Like San Francisco, they refused to put us on a FM station.
Shocker.
They had us on an AM station. And we would get people, like we saw responses from it. People listened on the AM station, but not as much as if they put us on an FM station.
Yeah.
And they just wouldn't do that. So, that market went away. Sacramento was another thing. I know we did okay in Sacramento, but then eventually that just faded away because that's what it was. But then you'd have small markets that you'd think there's no way we're going to be successful there. And we were, like Columbus, Ohio. We did well. And it's like, really? It's like, where is that? You're looking on there because, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and then maybe Toledo, because it's the other city on the other side of the state. But outside of that, you don't really know the whole rest of this there. So sometimes markets were weird. Other times markets didn't give a shit. West Palm Beach, we were on in there. That was actually more the management there didn't like us more than the audience did. I think the audience liked us. The station didn't.
And really? That's crazy. If people are listening, why would they give a shit at all?
They were a local station, and I worked at that station for a tiny bit too. And I enjoyed my time there. I was excited when I found out we were going to be syndicated to that station. But they had to inherit us after they inherited David Lee Roth, after they inherited Howard. And it was an Infinity station. They didn't have Howard normally. They were big and they had a local morning show. But when that Janet Jackson scenario happened, and then Viacom got sued by the FCC, and then Viacom and CBS also owned Infinity Broadcasting, which is the company we were all on. So they went after Howard too, and then Howard got fined and all of this nonsense. Clear Channel at the time, now iHeartRadio, dissolved their agreement to syndicate Howard, removed him from any station that Clear Channel owned that had Howard as their morning show there. And in response, Mel went around and said, all right, what are our Infinity stations in that market? We're pulling somebody off and putting Howard there. We're not dropping Howard out of that market. The West Palm Beach station was one of those stations where they had to put Howard on there. So the management there just resented that Howard was there, resented obviously David Lee Roth. And then we were there. We went down there a couple times, but I just think they did not like the New York City guys.
Yeah. It was a different kind of radio. If they weren't used to it, did they make you guys as like producers go to those markets? And the reason I ask is they wanted to syndicate our show at one point and Drew refused. I know that's the craziest thing you've ever heard. Like, what radio personality wouldn't want syndication? Drew's reasoning was, hey, if I leave Detroit, nobody knows who I am. I'm anonymous. I can go to Vegas. I can go anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. Nobody knows who I am. And he liked that. He was already super well paid. So he fought tooth and nail, and we were never syndicated. They wanted us in all the markets. They even tried to do local syndication, like in Columbus, in Red Wing markets is what they were going to do. And Drew refused. And the talk at the time was like, hey, we'll send Mike and Mark, your producers. We'll make them go. Because Drew was like, I'm not making fucking appearances in Columbus, Ohio at a bar to gin up stuff. Like I'm comfortable where I am. And, so I wonder if that was true. It was like, yeah, just send Mark and Mike to some shitty bar somewhere else in the country on a weekend.
No, we actually had it the other way around, because usually when you're syndicated to that extent, they want the hosts to come out to their market at some point, do your show from there. But there has to be a reason. Like you said, O&A, we're not just going to come down there to do
a bar gig
or show up at a concert or something like that, where it didn't make any sense. They wanted to, it's like, well, all right, we'll find something. We'll go down there. We'll broadcast our show from your station for a couple mornings while we're down there. And, they had to eat the cost and everything to have us down there, and brought the staff too. We were fortunate enough that they brought this. It wasn't just them feeding it back to New York and we all sat around doing nothing while the 2 or 3 of them were in whatever market. They brought all of us there to make something happen. While we were down there. So we were very fortunate to go to different markets, broadcast the show, but we also then tied it into a couple of things. One, we were still on XM before the Sirius XM merger while we were syndicated. So they would make us come down to DC as part of our agreement to do shows at the XM facility. So we would be there. Would piggyback with our talk station, WJFK in DC. So that worked. Then we had for 3 years the Virus Tour. It was a big comedy tour that we went around the country with. So we went at every market that we were big in. We would go and do the comedy show that weekend, but we'd broadcast a couple days leading up to it from that market to build up ticket sales and interest and all of those.
I remember you guys in Detroit. I went to that show. Mark Fellhauer and I went to the Virus show at Pine Knob.
Oh yeah,
packed 12,000 people. I mean, it was crazy. And then your guys, I told this to Anthony when I did his show. I was like, yeah, I remember you. You're the guy, you went on stage and beat the shit out of our morning show. And he was like, oh yeah, sorry about that. Just doing what we got to do. It was hilarious. So we were sitting in the crowd as Anthony was on stage, Opie and Anthony on stage, like, fuck Drew and Mike.
Hi. You're waving from the front row.
We're sitting in the I don't know, 20 rows deep, and the crowd just like, oh fuck, hope no one recognizes us here. But yeah, it was great. I can't remember who was on that one. Probably Bill Burr and Patrice. Like it was Norton,
Voss. Yeah, we had our regular comics, and then there was always 1 or 2 slots that would alternate based on wherever we could go and who was available, because sometimes it was Bob Saget. I know in Philadelphia we did Dom Herrera because he's big in Philly.
I think Saget was there. I think we had Saget in Detroit, if I'm not mistaken.
Tracy Morgan did a couple of shows with, depending where the market was and who was available, round out the ticket for some of that stuff. Otto and George was the dirty ventriloquist with the puppet.
Yeah. Well, the big breaking news of the week, and it's kind of hilarious actually, has been, and I'm a little surprised at how people have handled this story about Howard Stern. And you worked in the building with Howard for a long time, so I thought, who better to talk to than you? And I've seen posts from Glenn Beck and Jason Whitlock and Steven Crowder, Tim Pool, like talking canceled. Howard Stern canceled. And I'm just like, guys, you know how this goes, right? Like, I don't feel like Howard Stern's been canceled.
He hasn't been. And that's what drives me nuts, because it's not like when the shoe was on the other foot when they would come after more conservative hosts or entertainers or whatever. Because then the rally cry was around something they had evidence on. It was like, oh, he said this, or she said this thing here, or posted this tweet, something along those lines. All this was a fucking gossip rag, the Sun, who posted an article where most of it is paraphrasing shit Howard has said the last several months on his show, and also said our sources say they're rumored to whatever. Like, there was nothing specific in that initial article that said this is confirmed or this is happening or what have you. Howard had said there's clips out there where he had said at one point when people would ask, because his contract's up this year, are you going to renew? What have you? Now, if you know Howard for the last 30 something years, every time it's a contract year, as he gets close, he keeps saying, I don't know if I want to continue. He says
that's
that.
his gig. That's what he does.
It's what he does. It's to keep people busy, to keep the interest out there. It's to keep people who don't follow anything higher up than just listening to the show panic that Howard's going to go away. It was a brilliant move for a while, but this year he did it different. He would say, he's like, I have no idea. I haven't heard back from the company. They won't talk to me, or they haven't talked to us about doing anything going forward. And he doesn't ever put it that way, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of different this time around, that he was saying this thing. So that article put it out there, and it's like they have no interest in renewing him, and then that one article went everywhere as people crediting the source as them, and then changed the headline saying Howard Stern canceled, or Sirius cancels the Howard Stern show. No, CBS canceled the Late Show. It's not your typical cancellation where, hey, we're not going. That was the last season of the sitcom or the streaming show that you watched. We're not making anymore. That's a cancellation. His Colbert's cancellation was, we're not renewing the contract in 10 months from the time of the announcement, in 10 months. And then we're also not going to continue our late night franchise. That's being canceled. Now, it doesn't mean he's fired. They're canceling what he does when the contract is up. For Howard, they're saying, oh, he's canceled. Sirius is not resigning him anymore. We don't know. Sirius hasn't, and there's nobody sourcing Sirius at all. I think Howard came back to do the Metallica thing this week. I don't know because I know he's off for the summer. So I don't know if officially what he has said, if he has said anything yet. I have to look. But
I think he said we'll be back soon.
Howard hasn't said that I'm not coming back, or this isn't happening. It's done. Here's our last day. Like, nothing is in stone on this stuff. And when these kind of things do happen, usually it doesn't matter your politics, but on a legal basis, when you credit a source, it seems more believable if the source was coming from the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Chicago Tribune, the New York Post, something like along those lines, where you can go,
LA Times.
Yeah, you can go, oh, that's just a liberal. That's a liberal shit paper, or the New York Post is a conservative, gotcha thing or whatever. It's like, but in most people's minds and in legal matters, they've got that credible source that if it's coming from them, it could be true, right?
Yeah.
The Sun is like the Daily Mirror, like any of those other things that have gotten sued and what have you for stalking celebrities and invasions of privacy and all that kind of stuff. That's who everyone's saying, well, that's the end all be all. That's the word. That's what we're going with.
You know what I think it comes down to, Erik? I think people love being able to do a whole break on go woke, go broke. And they love being able to be the first ones out there to go, yeah, this is what happened. Howard's gone woke, and now that he's being canceled because everyone bailed on it.
A couple years ago, it was the other side. It was,
right.
If you were a conservative or a Christian, religious, whatever, and it was the liberal side, the extreme on the left, they're going, they need to be canceled. They got to be drummed out of Hollywood. They got to get out of politics. It's like, you guys gotta stop. Like, now it's happened to the conservatives for so long that now that everything's running for the most part in the conservative favor, that they're all like, well, now we're gonna turnabout's fair play and everything. But that doesn't make it better. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. There's got to be a higher bar that you got to set some of these standards on to show it's like, yeah, you guys did that for 4 years, but look what we did in these 4 years here. We didn't go that route. We went a different thing. You guys caused all your problems. It wasn't us going after you. That kind of mindset,
Yeah.
And you see it happening now, and you just go, it's
dumb.
It's dumb and aggravating. And you just go, you can't you can't start flipping sides and going, well, we're going to do everything that they did to us. Well, then how's that going to be any better? Because in 4 years, the conservative side's done. Now, they could be back in 28. You don't know, but there's a 50-50 shot. It could be the the
Sure.
liberal and the Democrat back in
But I
there
don't
again, and
feel
then
like
what?
I don't feel like there was a call to cancel Howard from conservatives. That would be the only difference. On the left, you saw a lot of people calling for people
No,
to be
you
canceled and
did.
people reacting.
You
I
did from that article. They started reposting the thing about the Dana Plato episode that happened in the
yeah,
early 90s
yeah,
that look, people are like, "Oh, he bullied her and she wound up killing herself the next day or whatever." I don't know if so much of it was him bullying her, but she was a avid drug abuser.
yeah.
And it was well known. That's why she didn't get any other TV jobs. That's why she was doing Playboy. That's why she did that weird, sexy horror video game that gets mocked all the time. You can look it up. I forget the title. That she did it during that time there. And then what happened? She overdosed the next day. That didn't mean Howard pushed her over the edge on
Yeah,
that stuff.
yeah.
But now all of a sudden that was coming up. And then you're seeing from the left side too. The Howard blackface with Sherman Hemsley showing
Yeah,
up
yeah.
again. So that was going through all the timelines. Like it was the Sherman Hemsley clip and it was the Dana Plato story. And it's like, all right, so both sides are now cheering that he's gone. He's going to be canceled. It's like he's not going anywhere. He's not even
Yeah.
gone from the summer. I mean, gone from the building. He's still got like 4 weeks of vacation left before he comes back. I'm not defending his current content. I've stopped listening to him a long time ago. But as far as being like the pinnacle of our industry and what we all were doing or continue to do at this point here, you got to step back for a little bit and you go, I need to defend the business or I need to
Yeah.
defend our industry because this is getting to be bullshit. He's not canceled.
Yeah.
I don't know if he
100%.
continues, but people flipped that one shitty article, changed the first headline to canceled, and then
From
no
could
one
be canceled. Yeah.
It used to be, it's like remember the old thing where it's like read past the first paragraph because it's all sensationalism in that first paragraph. Read
Yeah.
the second and third paragraph to get the truth of what's going on because they want the blog posts, they want the hits, they want you to go to the page to read, and you got to go down a couple paragraphs before you get the actual information.
Sure. Yeah.
Now it's not even that. It's like read past the headline. Don't even like you haven't even gotten to the first paragraph yet. You saw the headline and said, "Well, that's all I need to know."
What do you think his value is or his listenership? There's been a lot of reports. Now,
Right.
from what I gather, Sirius doesn't release numbers. It's like Netflix. You don't know what a movie really did, what
They
Howard's
never
numbers
released
are.
the satellite numbers. I don't know if they ever could. I know even from the XM days when we were still there, they never would release they always said we can't tell you or we don't have them so we never knew. It's like, can you not tell us or do you not have them? But as time went on and we started going into the late 2000s, the teen decade and what have you, there was the streaming and there was the app. So you get hard numbers off the streaming, you get hard numbers off the app, but that's it. That's not, and the majority of their audience, at least for satellite, I'm speaking on, was in the car, still in the car. So you don't know. They just go, oh, well, we've got 35 million subscribers that are in the car. So that's what we know that we have. Well, until the merger was done, Sirius was always known as, if they put the radio in the car and the car is on the car lot, that counted as a subscriber. XM didn't count it until they turned it on. Sirius is like, well, the cars are on the lot, so those are subscribers because those radios are in those cars. And not the best way of doing business, but look, they won out and they're the dominant, name on that company ever since. But
yeah,
they don't have the satellite
they've
numbers.
They've been sticking on a number. All these stories I see, and I take pause as well, where they're like, he went from 20 million listeners to 125,000 daily listeners. But I also know,
I think that might be
like in the early days, 20 million would have been fair. There weren't that many options. 20 million. It's like it's like MASH. No one's going to touch MASH's numbers ever. Yeah. There's too many options now. So I don't know how much of it is that.
I think that might be just numbers that they get off of like the on-demand version of his show. Like it's not the live show. It's, an hour, half an hour after his show's done, it shows up on demand on the app. So if you miss the show, you just click the button. You can listen to everything. It could be that. I don't know if that includes the live stream. I got to find that article and see what it is, but I don't know if that includes the live streaming numbers or if it's just the video on demand per day. Who knows? You know, his
Yeah.
show also runs throughout the day on one channel. So you got the morning on. I'll tell from our experience and the information we got, we had almost just as much people listening to us in the afternoon replay as we did live in the morning. So
Yeah.
we would be on from like 6 to 10, 7 to 11, somewhere in there, right? And
Yep.
then we would replay at 3 p.m. because we'd have Ron and Fez on as the midday show after us.
Yep.
We would be on again at 3 p.m. and we had just as much, almost as many people listening in the afternoon on satellite as we did in the morning. And
Yeah.
that's not only like, well, that some people try to paint that as a terrible thing. No, that's pretty damn good. If you can have a giant audience in the morning and then also have that a giant audience in the afternoon because they didn't listen in the morning,
Dude,
that's great.
that's how I listened. I mean, I was doing a morning show when you guys were live in New
Right.
York. And then when I'd leave, we'd be there till regularly 2, 3, 4, 2, 3 in the afternoon. And it was like almost every day when I left, you guys were starting. The music would come on, and it was like, dude, I would listen to your entire show from then on in the afternoon in the replay. That's how I consumed it.
Well, that's what they do with Howard, except his reruns immediately after that. Then you have the afternoon, the evening, whatever. So,
yeah, he's got 2 dedicated channels, I believe.
Yeah. I don't know how accurate those numbers are. I'd have to, again, read the article and see. But if they're saying he only has 125, that could be possible because most people aren't listening to satellite, and
Yeah.
if they are, they're of a certain age. They, at the beginning of this year, they did one of those press announcement things. I don't know if it was like an SEC call or, those things where you can dial in and listen because it's open to the
Yeah.
public, where they got to tell you about financial situations, stocks, and future predictions, all that shit. But it was at the beginning of this year, and they had to say, they said that they did not expect to make a profit this year, that the trends were not looking good for what they had based on the previous 2 years. And that the last year ended strong because they fired a ton of people. So they
Yeah.
saved a lot of money going into the new year. But then their projections were like, we're not going to make a lot of money this year. And they also had to admit they had no one under 35 that subscribes
Yeah.
to
Oh, can
Sirius.
you imagine your kids? You have kids. Can you imagine them looking forward to something on the dial or something on
No.
satellite? Like, not a
Going
chance.
back even a decade ago, I have, family
Yeah.
members who had young kids at the time, or even neighbors that had young kids. And I would ask them, because some of them were girls like in that weird area of like 10 to 15 in there that would listen to like the pop station or the rock station in your local area. I was like, do you ever listen to this like Hits One? It's like, do you listen to Hits One? Because that's pretty much targeting the younger audience, that hit channel, the pop channel they got.
Yeah.
And they would say, it's like, well, that's the channel my mom listens to. And you go, really? And they're like, yeah, they only would hear it in the car because their mom
Yeah.
would put it on or whatever. But that's how they associate it. Like, that's the station my mom listens to. But that's the music and the audience that they're catering to is the younger people. And they're not getting that. They're getting the moms or the women in their 20s listening to it. And then they spent all this other money where they were getting they branded a channel for TikTok. They've had TikTok radio on there, and it was all supposed to be music that blew up because of TikTok. You know how there's a lot of artists
Yeah.
that had stuff get big because of YouTube, right? Biggest
Sure.
platform in the world. They're not getting radio play, but their videos doing fantastic. Their music streaming through YouTube is doing, that's how they became big, right? So TikTok has elements of that too. So they branded with TikTok and had TikTok radio. People who listen and use TikTok are not listening to TikTok radio on satellite. It got so much. They have Pandora. Pandora was the first of its kind doing the music streaming stuff going back 15 years, right?
Yep.
They
Yep.
were the first one. Then, Spotify came around and Apple started doing all these other things. Apple and Spotify are way ahead. Nobody thinks of Pandora anymore.
No, I
and
don't.
they were the first one to do it.
Yeah.
And
Yep. I was early on Pandora, and then I'm totally Spotify now.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
they bastardized that too, because some of the channels that are on satellite are the same exact cut and paste on Pandora. So you're just getting 80s on 8, but also on Pandora instead of having
Sure.
a cultivated thing based on your algorithm or what they research the algorithms of people who like 80s music are listening to these songs. So that's what goes on their 80s channel, not oh, we already have got these 250 songs programmed on satellite, so we'll just stream it right to that platform, or vice versa. Like, they cannibalized and bastardized their own properties, and no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
So what did they do now is they've been spending money to get personalities back.
Yeah.
Because they fired personalities, didn't want to pay personalities. Everything's too much, too much, too much. Well, why are these people and these companies doing well? Oh, because the personalities.
Dude,
What?
I've always thought it's only the personalities that matter. Like, that's the one untouchable in our industry is the personality. You can put any band on, any song on. What do you think is
It's not
what's
untouchable.
been the
That's
biggest
the problem.
what's been the biggest news in talk radio in 8 years? Anthony Cumia going on WABC.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally been the biggest story, and I mean, the most successful that I can think of. Can you think of anyone that's been?
Well, we've had several recently. I mean, not downplaying Anthony's thing. That was because that was Anthony returning to terrestrial radio was almost a wrestling storyline.
Yeah.
Like, this guy left for WCW and came back after 8 years. We'd never thought we'd see him in the WWE again. Oh my God, there's Anthony Cumia. His music hits at the end of WrestleMania, and 100,000 people go crazy. That's what that moment was. So that's why it was everywhere. It's like, Anthony, for why he got fired, came back and got this thing. But you had a couple other things too. So you have, like, the Howard story right now is big for talk radio. Not too long ago, Stephen Smith got bought out from ESPN to go to Sirius XM. They spent all that money to take his show off of syndication through ESPN radio and all that. And now he's going to be exclusively to Sirius for his radio show, not the TV stuff he does, starting in September. That's a big deal too, because that's a big like, whether you like him or hate him, his name is always thrown around. He shows up. He's a sports talk commentator, whatever, but he shows up on Bill Maher. He shows up on other pundit shows. He shows up everywhere because the guy can talk.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you like him or not.
He's on Fox News at times now.
Yeah.
You see him on Sean Hannity.
He's on The View. He's on everything. And he should, because whether you like him or don't like him, he can talk. He can communicate. He's polarizing, and he makes money because he's that way. And it's a black guy, which is even, that sweetens the deal even more. He's a well-spoken black guy, not just for sports, but he's talking policy. He's talking, everyday pop culture mindset issues. Of things like that. And there's, he just was on Bill Maher, right? And they were talking about, I think it was Pete Buttigieg. Like, they were saying for 2028, they were doing exploratory research, and Pete Buttigieg has 0% backing from the black community in this country. So Bill's is talking to Steven. He goes, "Why do you think 0%?" And Steven goes, "He doesn't appeal to us."
Yeah.
Blunt, to the point, whatever. And he's like, "There's nothing about that guy that appeals to us. It doesn't matter his, his proclivities and all that other shit there. He doesn't speak to us in a way that that somebody was going to buy into his stuff." So everyone just looked at him and went, "No." And he was also, he said, like, it doesn't matter if he's white. Doesn't matter. I think he's gay, right? Isn't he?
No, he's gay. Yeah. And I think that does matter in the black community. Let's be honest, but
right. But
either
I'm
way,
saying, it doesn't matter. The point Stephen was making, it doesn't matter if he's white, whatever. That stuff. Nothing he has appeals to us. Now, it could be, yes, because he's gay, it doesn't really appeal to a lot of the black community.
That's not helping. At a minimum, it's not helping.
But saying nothing he has appeals to us is the perfect blanket response to getting in all the stuff that everybody knows why you don't like this person without triggering everything. It's like, he specifically said this and that, we're going to hold his feet to the fire because of that. Anyway, that's a big giant talk story for here. The Howard thing, Anthony thing. You're starting to see the personality stuff. Alex Cooper, at the end of last year, her podcast, biggest female podcast out there right now, got bought up by Sirius XM, did a deal for $120 million, got her show, her production company, all of the shows that she produces with her production company, and they gave her 2 channels on Sirius XM.
Yeah.
And I think this is part of the thing that's, that they're having with Howard. Howard is not happy because it seems like they were trying to make, and they still could make her the face of the company.
Yeah.
Right.
Who else? Is it Andy Cohen that he's reportedly pissy about too?
Could be, but it's easier for him to go after Andy Cohen than it is going after Alex Cooper. Right.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I'm not there. I'm that part is speculation on my part. I think because Alex Cooper has the potential to being the face, like for whatever you're saying about, like, Joe Rogan's the poster boy of whatever thing. He's the biggest show in the world still, right?
Yeah.
There's other people who are coming close or whatever, but overall, Joe is still the biggest name in talk, in any medium, talk
Yep.
radio, talk television, whatever. It's him. Other people are saying, well, this person's going to be the next Joe Rogan. He's going to be bigger than Joe Rogan. It's like, how about you say he's the next Joe Rogan when he's bigger than Joe Rogan? Don't
Right.
do that
Right.
kind of shit. He's the next Letterman or Carson or that kind of, not like, nobody's like Carson at that time. Carson's still on. Joan's
Yeah.
not going to be the next Carson just because Fox is paying Joan Rivers as the next Carson. But like, Alex has the potential to being the next big thing.
Do you think she does though? I think they might be
her audience. I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't know. They're taking a gamble, and it's not like it's a ridiculous gamble, but Sirius skews older, and you're trying to bring in younger people by grabbing one of their biggest pop culture icons for a younger audience, especially female, right? So having her there might be a way to turn the things around. But the delivery method of satellite radio is kind of archaic, so people don't really need to have it in their car. I don't know anybody that still has the old radio that you used to have to buy to specifically to get satellite in there.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, if you don't patch your phone into the car, your phone automatically pairs to the car, or you have those dashboards that have the apps in the car already.
Yep. Oh,
and it just uses your phone as the hotspot for the internet, and you're streaming and ready to go.
Sure.
So they don't need the satellite, but them buying into her, trying to make her the face of the company, they also handle all her ad sales for her and all her podcasts. So they get her to do, and her personalities and her company represented on the satellite end. She has a music channel and a talk channel. Then they put out the podcast. So I don't know what their exclusivity deal is, whether her episode comes out and then like a couple days later it goes out to the public, or if it's a week later it goes out to the public. But they have some exclusivity thing to her before it goes out everywhere. And once it does go out to the public, all the ads that are placed on there are, Sirius is making the money. She's not making the money off the ads because they gave her $120 million. That was her money. And now the company's trying to recoup by doing all the ad sales.
What is the 120 million? That's not a year.
No, that was for the whole package. I don't know how long her contract is. If it was like, I think it might be 3 years or something.
Okay.
But they pay her that money. I don't know if it's up front, but it's a big chunk of it up front. And that money goes to her company. And then that money pays everybody else in her company. So like, it's not just $120 million for Alex Cooper, and then they also pay the staff of her company. It's here's the money, goes to you and your company. You pay everybody. You get everything done this way. And this is what a lot of companies are doing now. They don't want to own their own stuff anymore. The days of owning your own property and your own content. This is exclusively iHeart content. NBC owns this show. That doesn't matter anymore. Now they license these properties that are already successful, bring you in with some kind of deal. You can only get it on this platform, or you get it here first. We do the ad sales. Excuse me, hiccuping. All of that stuff there. And then that's it. And if it goes well, we'll renew you again in 3 years. If it doesn't go well, we can cut you off and grab the next big thing.
Do you think that's working? Because I find, like, I forget, like, where do you watch South Park now? Is it Paramount Plus or
Paramount
HBO?
Plus? And it's still on Comedy Central, but Paramount Plus.
I find it so spread out and everywhere. You don't have a guide like you used to, like, and I forget about things. I don't know if it's a good thing
to see if this is working, at least for this kind of style with the podcast stuff, because the only litmus test we have right now is Joe Rogan, because he went through the whole Spotify $500 million contract thing.
Right.
That came and went. They re-signed him again for I don't think if it was that much, but it was like a little bit less than what that was.
But that was $100 million a year, right?
It was, for 5 years. That went well for them. And then they loosened up some of the restrictions, because I guess he wanted to, so that he could put episodes on YouTube. Remember, you watch, I think they're up on Spotify, because Spotify has the video element. You can watch them on Spotify first, and then they go to YouTube or whatever. But he's allowed to do anything he wants now. And they obviously made their money $500 million for 5 years because they signed him again.
Yeah.
He's in the middle of another long-term, very lucrative contract. So it obviously worked for them.
Yeah.
He's the only one I know.
But Howard didn't do that. Howard, like, I never liked Howard's show anyways, but that was
I used to love Howard show up until
you guys all did
when he went too hard in the paint with the celebrity stuff, and then
yeah,
last year just with all the political. Even if Howard was conservative and he was just constantly kissing conservative ass and all that stuff, he'd be like, "This isn't why we like you, Howard."
Dude,
make fun of people and.
I remember getting satellite in my car for the first time. And I remember getting I think you had to choose, didn't you? Do you want XM or Sirius? And you got a radio based on which one?
No, for the car, it was whoever they had the licensing deals with the cars. Because if you got Ford, you had XM. But if you got like BMW, you got Sirius.
Okay.
So it was based on who they had.
No, because you could go to Best Buy and buy.
Oh, you could buy the portable units. Yes.
The portable
those you
units.
Could buy and have them installed in your car or something.
I think you guys did giveaways, like giving those away at times.
Yeah, because we weren't allowed to go on the air. We signed in end of July, beginning of somewhere around there with XM.
What year?
2004.
But
okay. we were not allowed to go on the air until October 4th, I believe, of 2020. Not even 2004.
Yeah.
So for 2 months, we were allowed to go and do anything but broadcast. So we got everybody back together. They showed us the facility. They showed us our offices. We got the staff put together. Then we started traveling. The company paid for a promotional tour for us. And we went to a lot of the markets we were big in, did appearances at like Hard Rocks and the things of that level. Right. Yeah. And we had radios, and they just gave us these in those plastic clamshell things, radios. So we were just going out and giving radios, or we were giving out cards for like free several month subscriptions or anything. It's like, do you have a radio? Yeah, here you go. Here's a card. Go and call, activate your radio, give that card. You get 3 months of Opie and Anthony or something like that. Because we were also not only were on satellite, we were on a pay channel on satellite.
Yes,
because they didn't trust us. So you had to pay an extra $3 on top of your XM subscription to get our channel as a legal loophole because of everything else that was going on. So that they couldn't just come at us because
I think they gave you guys free. Because I wouldn't have signed up without hearing you guys.
Right.
Because it was like, who the fuck is Opie and Anthony?
We had sample channels too. Yeah. We weren't allowed to put old material on there. We weren't, as far as talk material, we weren't allowed to record new stuff that involved Ope and Jim on there. So we would give out samples after we were allowed. Like we would play. Remember how radio stations would stunt with music and weird shit if they were going to flip a format?
Yep.
So a week or two before we went on, they had our channel live, and we were playing like Stephen Lynch songs and old bits, and had other comedy friends and stuff of ours who would record things and they could talk about us coming and they could do all that stuff. But
you couldn't play the guys doing
we
stuff.
Couldn't be on there, But if we made imaging talking about Opie and Anthony, that could go on there too. So Steve and I
I think comics,
the XM guy, but we would make stuff, and then that shit would loop on the channels.
Yeah.
Until we were ready to go live.
So I'm trying to think if that was how I first heard you guys, or were you syndicated in another way before that? Because I remember distinctly going, oh, I'm going to get to listen to Howard for the first time because he had his channel that was all Howard all day or whatever. Right. And I remember listening at first.
But we were on 2 years before Howard even came to satellite. We were on satellite 2 years before he came.
So I don't know if I can't remember exactly. God, my memory just sucks. But I remember listening to Howard and going, yeah, this is as bad as I thought it was. Like he's the ego, the whole thing. And then I stumbled into your show and I was like, this might be the best radio show I've ever heard. This is, and then from then on, I'd never listened to another show. So it was like, I found Ron and Fez from that way, just bleeding into it. But like that show was so good and so much better than anything Stern was doing. I know you guys were all fans of Stern. A lot of you guys grew up in that area and were, but when I heard O&A for the first time, it was like, that's where it's at. That whole cast of characters, the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. That's very nice of you to say.
It's true.
Um, but we did provide a good alternative to Howard, where we weren't competing with Howard up until the satellite time when
Right.
he went to Sirius. That was the only time we were really competing with Howard, because even though they were with the same company, and we were, because he was on in the mornings, they would syndicate the show in the afternoons on stations he was on around the country. So you would have Howard Stern in the morning, Opie Anthony in the afternoon, but we were not allowed to do that in New York. The one place where it probably would have made $1 billion for the
Yeah.
company to have us on K-Rock or whatever, or him on whatever they wanted to do, was Howard Stern in the morning, Opie and Anthony in the afternoons. Every market we were in, we were paired with him, except New York.
What do you
And
think that was about? Why would Howard
Howard
like?
probably didn't want it, but Infinity and Mel and everything, they knew the money that the show was making, so they're like, we can't turn them off. It's not like when Howard had the problem with the Grease Man, when they were syndicating the Grease Man and put him on stations. Like when they brought him to New York, he was on at night at K-Rock in New York.
Yeah.
Greaseman doesn't fit on a rock station like that, especially in New York City. His audience was mostly, white trash and rednecky stuff. So he worked for like the middle, the south of the country. It didn't work up in the Northeast area. And Howard had a huge problem that he was on his station in New York. Like that was like invading his house,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
will. So that was the same reason from what Open Ant told me when they were coming from Boston to New York. They were wanted to put them on K-Rock in the afternoon in New York City, but Howard didn't want it, so they wound up going to WNEW instead.
What do you think? Because it screamed off the radio, redheaded stepchild was O&A with the company, and
Yeah.
Howard could do no wrong. Howard got all the money. Howard got all the clout.
Well, at that time, yeah, he built that company for Mel.
Right.
Like Mel had the company, brought him over when he got fired from NBC in New York.
But it was the weirdest thing in that, for us in Detroit, and I was listening to the Drew Lane show earlier today. He dropped a clip talking about Howard coming to Detroit, and he was listening to the press conference. Howard talking shit. He did the same thing in Philly when he went after the guy there. Like he looked for the fight. I'm going to bury them. We're having a funeral. He talked about tombstones with Drew,
that
Mike,
was
and
never
Trudy.
done before. Everything he did, because people
then he couldn't take the fight with O&A. It never made sense. Like he didn't want to have the fight with O&A, and I wonder what that was.
Because the O&A were in the same company. All the other shows he fought against were not in the same company. They were literally the station across the street that you could go and fight with them. Two, he could only do so much because, for as powerful as Howard was at that time and whatever, Mel Karmazin was still the end all be all of that company. If Mel wanted to say, you're not doing this, Howard had no choice, right? Because Mel ran everything.
But it sounds like Howard had just as much say as Mel Karmazin did. Like
Howard had influence, but Mel had the final
a lot.
say.
It felt like he had a lot.
He
like
built that company with, like, it was Mel's company. He built that company for Mel, right?
Yeah,
Mel
but if Howard said
stuff, but Howard's ratings and everything brought it into the limelight for what he did. But at the end of the day, it was still Mel's company. So,
but if Howard said to Mel, those guys aren't allowed to mention my name, my show, Robin Quivers, like Mel would come and talk to you guys and say, don't mention his name.
Mel didn't. Until a certain point where Anthony loves telling the story where they got called into a meeting and they had to go to Mel's office, and Mel walks in and they're sitting down there and he just goes, "What time did you wake up today that you and decide that you're going to fuck Mel Karmazin?" That was the infamous opening line to that thing. But outside of that, Mel allowed some of those things where O&A used to have to call him, what did they call Howard? Radio edit.
Yeah.
So whenever they talked about Howard, they just would play the clip radio edit from the Kid Rock song, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because they weren't allowed to say Howard. Up until then, there was a reality show that starred, fat blonde girl with big tits, Anna Nicole Smith.
Oh, Anna Nicole, yeah.
And she had a lawyer / manager on that show, and his name was Howard Stern.
Yes.
So because he was a public figure and on that thing, they were allowed to say Howard K. Stern. So they would say Howard K. Stern because that's not who they're talking. They're not talking about Howard Stern proper. And then that became a big deal. And then that's when Imus started speaking up against Howard. Because again, Imus is in the same company too at that time. And Imus started, going after Howard because O&A weren't allowed to talk to him. And Howard
is this pre-nappy headed hose Don Imus?
Oh yeah. And Howard would never admit that it was coming from him, that he because he would never acknowledge O&A ever on his show because we're in the same company. He never would acknowledge them. When he admitted to it all was Howard did an interview with Sean Hannity in 2004.
Really?
And he was in studio with Sean, and they were talking about I think it might have been Howard was announcing he just signed a deal with Sirius, so he had to write out his contract and whatever. But he was on with Hannity, and they were talking, and Hannity brought it up because we were friends with Hannity, and he would say, so it's like, so about the whole censoring of Opie and Anthony and all that. And he's like, so you're for free speech, but only if it's yours. And Howard is like, yeah, absolutely. He goes, why would I want anybody else to say anything that's going to put me out of business or be detrimental to what I'm doing, whatever. And he goes, yeah, so I did. Like, he admitted it to it because O&A were fired. They weren't allowed to work. But it was during that time. They weren't on the air. They couldn't respond. They couldn't do anything. Howard admitted to it. Yeah. So then it was like, oh, okay. And, and that's all Opie needed to fuel that. Cause that whole Howard versus us thing was always mostly Opie stuff. That was Opie's hill to die on.
Yeah. And what was that about? What do you think that was all about with Opie? Cause it came off on the air. You could tell Opie meant it. Yeah. Like Anthony's such a great performer and entertainer and quick that he does as good a Howie impression as anyone. It's fantastic, but you could tell the real hatred was
the way Ant described it over the years, and I'm paraphrasing, but every time he said this, it makes sense. It's like, you don't have to, because it's your family, right? It's where you work. It's our show. It's whatever. He's like, we can shit on each other on the show. Yep. You can shit on your own family, but somebody can't come over and shit on your family. Even if you agree with what they say and you don't like what somebody in your family is doing, you don't take, what is the Godfather line? You don't take sides outside of the family or something.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So, Ant goes after Howard and all that stuff because that's the stuff that was going on and what have you. But Ant still to this day will talk about Ant was on Howard for a tiny bit. Yeah. Like he showed up on Howard. But that he liked certain stuff and he looks back at it, doesn't like what he's doing now.
He's from Long Island. Of course
we all were. We're all from Long Island. We're all from the New York City area. We're all whatever.
We're listening to Howard.
Yeah. So
How bad did that get because I remember it was so entertaining to listen to when it was clear the company did not want you guys even mentioning Howard, and it would come up and you guys would use workarounds and get creative with it.
They were very good at that.
Yeah. Awesome at it. Did you guys as producers ever catch the brunt of that?
Meaning
here's why I ask. There were things like Drew and Mike became untouchable in Detroit. So they could do a lot. Like when laws changed, you couldn't smoke in buildings. Drew and Mike would be like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? And they'd smoke in the studio. And they didn't care, and management would come to Mark and I and be like, if those guys smoke a cigarette, I'm fining you $100 a day per instance. So they would do shit like that where it was like, we're sitting here going, well, fucking take it up with them, man. I can't tell them what to do any more than you can.
I wasn't around for that stuff, so I don't know. But I do know from there was one or two times XM tried doing stuff. Sirius used to try to do that shit early on until that precedent was set. But they're like, well, when I don't do this, it's like, then it's going to be your guy's fault or whatever. And
yeah.
You go, you can't. Like, what are you going to do? It's like, it's like, oh, well, O&A did this thing, so we fired their producer.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I will sue you because I didn't do it. I work there. I guess we represent the show, but those actions were not my responsibility. Those actions didn't cause legal damage to your licensing, to your advertisers, to any of that kind of stuff there. That's just petty management trying to, throw their dick around and say, you know, my dick's bigger than your dick and you're going to do what I tell you. Okay. And then you never, like, half the time we were like, okay, we'll talk to them. And then you didn't. Or we went and mentioned it to them. There's been a couple times I would tell them stuff that was said in meetings. I was like, yeah, this is a problem. This is a problem there. And then they'd go off on the air and you're like, motherfucker, I told you just so you to be aware of it. Don't bring it up on the air. And they go, oh, really? And they were addressing management, you know, in the back offices and stuff. It's like, you're going to get mad because I'm doing this. Well, guess what, Steve? I'm going to do. It's like, oh my God.
They had no issue throwing you guys under the bus.
No.
I mean, which was so fantastic for the listener, but it had to be.
Of course it was.
Like, if I went to Drew and or Mike and went, hey, they're really having, they would never go on the air and be like, yeah, here's what Walter said.
Well,
or here's
there were times, not all the time. Like other times it's just because O&A could do it, they would do it.
Right.
And that was just the nature of the show. But there were times, like there was 1 or 2 times where I know maybe more than 2 times where I said, like, fuck you, then you deal with it. I quit, or I'm not going to do this. If I'm out here tomorrow, that's your problem. I don't care. You know,
to O&A or to management?
Huh?
To O&A, you would say that, or to management?
The management, sometimes I would say that, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Like you really had to get to crossing a line or up at a line that I wasn't going to tolerate, where I would say that to Anthony, or I'd say that to Opie. I only had 1 incident, I think, with Anthony. The others were always with Opie.
I remember a couple times, I think, where you were like, where you actually left. Was there 1 or 2 times that actually happened?
There was a couple. I'll get into those in a second. But now that I'm just remembering, the thing with Anthony was one time we were at a meeting, and management used to love forcing us all to go to meetings. It wasn't like a staff meeting where management had to meet with the people who produce the show and run the channel and all that stuff to go over, you know, basic mechanics of what's happening. Hey, new software's coming in, new computers, you know, that kind of stuff. They would come in and they would like try to have creative meetings with us. So it's like, we need to think, you guys are going to be on vacation for 2 weeks, right? Yeah. It's like, so what do we got coming up from Worst Of? Our best of shows we used to call Worst Of.
I loved it. Yeah, it was great.
And I said, well, there was a couple of things recently that came up, I think, that I'm going to bring back just because we talked about it here, and I'll play the old clip. Like, I'll play this thing here and then lead into the old clip, because I always love doing that. If something was new, especially with a comic or something, right, where we would catch them in inconsistencies or so. One particular thing, and I'll get back to the Anthony thing in a second, was like Bob Kelly was telling us how the iPad was a waste of money and it's never going to catch on. Bob used to if you don't know Robert Kelly, great comedian.
Yeah, he's awesome.
The Bonfire on Sirius XM. He was talking about the iPad, and he always used to come in and he wanted to be the tech guy, and he would tell us about new tech stuff because Bobby was into tech stuff. And then he told us about the iPad. The iPad's terrible. It's never going to be anything. And then we'd have to go back, and the iPad is one of the biggest things that ever sold for Apple.
Right.
The original one, you know, this was groundbreaking kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then
what was that, like
2009,
2008?
Even, or somewhere in there.
I think
and we
the iPhone came out back in 2007.
When Bobby, because we also had another clip too, where Bobby had told us something like, this is the next big thing, whatever. And then that thing flopped. So we had both sides. So if Bobby came in touting something new, like, oh, this is going to be great. Really, Bobby? Remember this thing with the iPad? And we'd play the clip, and, you know, so I always liked if something new came up and then marrying it to the old reference segment. So you'd have them both in the segment. You could hear both, right?
Yeah.
I like doing that stuff. And he goes, yeah, but what if we get a celebrity to host it? What? Wait, what? It's like, yeah, well, we get some of these celebrities here. What if because they'd bring celebrities in to do takeovers, but it was just them reading a script that one of the channel managers wrote for them so they could do an hour on the Metallica channel or the Bruce Springsteen channel or something like that.
What was their hard on with celebrities, dude? They did overpaying celebrities. Like, no one gave a shit about the celebrities.
The president of Sirius XM used to work for USA Network, used to work for Miramax, used
MTV.
to be like, he was labeled the third Weinstein brother in Hollywood for many years. I don't know how he came out unscathed, but yeah, I've heard things. But anyway, so he has a hard on for anything celebrity. That company needs to have a press release every month about a new celebrity branding. It's like, what channels do we have here? All right, we got to flush the format on those channels, and we got to rebrand them as some. There was an old school hip hop station that I used to listen to on Sirius XM. I think it was called Backspin, I think it was called. And it was
Okay.
playing old stuff from like the 70s, 80s into the 90s, what would be considered old school golden age hip hop stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you like putting that on, and then you're hearing, some of these people that were one hit wonders or oh wow moment, like you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. All right, no, we're gonna call it LL Cool J's Rock the Bells. Okay, is LL going to be part of it? No, we're just going to license the name and everything. He'll record a few liners, and that's what it's going to be branded. Shade 45 was licensed off of Eminem. He was only required to do 3 hours a year
Really?
of content. So like he I don't think he was ever there in that building all the years I was there. The staff and stuff would have to go to concerts or things that he was at to record him backstage and hope that he would do it. Not like,
Yeah.
hey, after this show, or you got to give an hour or so before your concert because this is your requirement. It was, they would go and like, well, I hope he does this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that was the thing they were so hard on for celebrities. Everything had to be
Yeah.
branded. Everything had to be there. We'll give them a channel. We'll let you want to do takeovers on multiple channels. We'll let you do that. Just come into the building and do some interviews. And
It's weird.
anyway, so going backwards, where was I? Anthony, right?
Anthony. Yeah. So you would marry like you were
Oh
talking
yeah, the
about
worst
Bobby
stuff.
Kelly.
Yeah, so that's what
Yeah.
those meetings were. They were like, well, let's get a celebrity hosted. What if we do the
That's
whole
so
like,
dumb.
what if this is all about like this whole day is all about Bob Kelly? I go, if you do a whole day about Bob Kelly, that's 4 to 5 hours a day. People are gonna get sick of that.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not like because like one time we had a holiday weekend or whatever it was, and we did 2 4-hour best of shows, and we had sponsorship with the WWE. So they came in, they did advertising. We had their imaging and stuff around the best of stuff. And it was just, 8 hours of every time we had a wrestler or something on the show, or stories about Sam and I going to WrestleMania. Anything that married into WWE was sponsored for. That kind of makes sense. Some of the other stuff doesn't
Sure.
make sense, but that's what those meetings were. All right. Going backwards on that thing there.
Yeah.
So that's where you'd run and bump heads with management and whatever. There was one time with Anthony where they made us do these meetings, and Ant fell asleep or was nodding off during one of the meetings. And I was sitting diagonal from one of the big managers, and I saw him writing down stuff about Anthony on his clipboard or whatever.
Yeah.
So what happens was after the meeting and all that stuff there, I pull Anthony aside. I said, hey, just want to give you a heads up. Such and such was writing notes about you sleeping. He did not look happy. I don't know what's going to happen. Just let you know, he wrote some stuff down. It didn't look good.
Yeah.
That was it. Anthony fuming. It's like, all right, thanks. And then next day he's on there talking about it. And I threw my headphones off and I walked out of the second studio that I'm in. And I'm like, I'm going to get so much shit for this because I'm looking out for the guys on our show, the hosts of our show. And I was like, I told you so you'd be aware of it, not go after them.
Yeah.
So I walked off that day. I was fucking fuming. I was sitting in the office debating, do I go home? Do I just sit here? I don't know what to do. And then, on air is doing one thing. And then I talked to him after the show, and I was just like, dude, I'm going to get fucked because I told on management to you about this thing. And Ant didn't care at the time, but he's like, if they do anything to you, we'll take care of them and all that stuff. Then lo and behold, after that, I get yelled at by manager. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, well, you're the one who I just saw you writing notes. That's all I did. That's all I did was seeing the guy writing notes that he was pissed at Anthony. And I told Anthony to give him the heads up. And now this became about me.
Yeah.
The other, going back to the original thing, the other thing was just a lot of that stuff was management trying to tell you how to do things. And then they learned quickly. It's like, all right, we're not going to come in there. It got to the point where O&A were gone anywhere from half an hour to 15 minutes before the show was over. Like they were gone. They would go to break or whatever. And I used to
just leave.
Yeah, I used to just cut. I don't know. I think I told you this already, but I used to cut intros and stuff coming out of breaks and things without the music, whatever, generic things from previous shows, put it into evergreen topics. And then like, we're going to go. And it's like, fuck, I got 15 minutes. What do I have that's around that time? Oh, I can play that there, paste the intro. So then I have a playlist of things segging into each other, writing the rejoin beds, the production. Opie's come back. Opie and Anthony show. And what were you talking about during the break with this thing? And they were going back and forth. And then now like the show's wrapped up, I'd hit the closer. I'd see management coming down the hall because they're wrapping up. They're going to come talk to O&A. They show up there.
And they're gone.
Where did they go? I'm like, they left. There's no way that I just heard the show. You could. I'm like, yeah, they left about half an hour ago.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, they didn't want to deal with you, so they left. They were done for the day. So
Yeah. Yeah. I remember stuff like that
it
where
sounds like I'm complaining. But I got to tell you,
no,
those
not
were
at all.
personally, those were such fun memories on my end where like I just had banks of stuff that you couldn't tell that O&A weren't even live. Like what show at that level for that amount of money is going, how do we do less and still have the show going? Ant used to joke, he's like, I'd be in the car and I'd still hear, the show and everything going on before the closer of the show. He'd be in his car heading down to the Midtown Tunnel going home. And he would be listening to
Wow.
the end of the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love those moments. No one has those radio stories except us. And I love telling those stories.
Yeah. I don't think I was ever aware that they weren't live, that there was something recorded at the end of the show and then they were out of there.
It wasn't all the time. It wasn't like every day that happened.
Yeah.
Once in a while, you've done shows like this. Sometimes you get to that last hour and you're like, there's not, I mean, now there's a million, the news shit that happened yesterday is already old news,
Right.
but there would be times where slow news day, there really wasn't much going on. We talked about everything. It's like, I don't know what else we can do for the next hour. What do you have over there? Oh, well, here are my options. I can do this or this. All right, let's do that. We would do it. And then they would sneak out. They were gone. And then for somewhere
so what
in
would
that
they record it? Would it be recorded in a break or something?
No.
What do you mean?
No, they were older segments. Like old, like years old or whatever, that were so generic.
Evergreen, just evergreen.
We're not time specific. It could be stories about them and their lives or something else, or one of the staff members that, like if people left the show, weren't fired or didn't work on the show anymore, I'd have to go and move all their stuff to another folder so I didn't accidentally play their stuff, because we tried doing that. It's like, well, they're not here anymore. And if you start hearing that guy's voice on the show, it's like, what's happening?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would find generic stuff that I would put into there, and I'd have intros all the time because we used to record each microphone separately in that studio too. We'd have a Pro Tools rig, so every mic had its own track recording, so that on the air you're hearing production in the music, whatever. But on my computer in there, you're just hearing it like
you've got a clean track.
Yeah, it's all clean. It's whatever. So I could go and take those tracks, make them into new intros, no other thing, and then play them over a bed so it sounds like it's live.
Wow.
It was a lot of work to do nothing. It really was.
I was going to say, dude, that's a shitload of work.
It's like,
for those that don't know,
so much work to be lazy to sound like you're not doing anything. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of work for them to be lazy and out.
But I caught on early on, and I used to just have that stuff banked because I could tell sometimes Ant had a rough night, or Ope just was being Opie and didn't have anything to talk about anymore, or whatever. Or the days like when Jimmy was traveling, if they didn't have much to end the show with or whatever. Hey, I got this thing where you were talking about, and that was another thing too. If Jim wasn't there that day, if he was traveling, I had to have bits that were just Opie and Anthony and the staff, that Norton wasn't there. Like I had categories of things based on what the day was, so I could pull something from that folder, from that folder, from that folder.
Yeah. Oh, that's wild, man. That's wild.
I'll say this: it is a lot of work for little reason other than they wanted to go home. But it really hones your editing skills and your thought progression on every day you're listening to stuff. You start making, it's like, wait a minute, that line he said, I could use that for something else. So you start making your own notes, just with like notepads and things. You're writing stuff down in your books or whatever. You go back, you take the clips, you pull that show, you put them there, and then somewhere down the line you go, oh yeah, I have this. I can use that as like a segment thing, or I can use this for drops for production or whatever we're doing there. So you sat there and listened to the show, not like a fan or anything anymore. Now I'm breaking it down. Like, how do I dissect everything they're saying and doing so we can use it for other stuff?
Yeah.
Nobody else was doing that. I think Howard's show might've been the only other show that was doing stuff like that.
Yeah. Was it in that building when you had both shows there? Was it as bad as it sounded on the air between the two shows? Like, I got the impression you didn't see Howard very much.
I would see Howard at certain times because we would be done. Howard would be done anywhere around 11 a.m. Right. And from what I understood, Howard would go back into his office after his show, take a nap for an hour or whatever, recap with Gary over some things, go back and then he would get up and then he would leave and go home. So during that time, the midday times, Ron and Fez were on or what have you, we'd be in the lobby because we'd have, I had my show, Sam had his stuff there. Celebrities would be coming in and we'd go to grab people to record stuff or what have you. We would see like Ronnie and Howard walking through the lobby to go home. And because Howard went and took the freight elevator on the other side of the floor, not the main elevator that everybody comes up in. And so I would see Ronnie in the morning. Sometimes I'd see Howard coming in, but when he would leave, the only times I ever had any interactions with Howard would be in the lobby to walk by. And if we make eye contact, he would go, just pleasantries. He's like, hello, how are you? And I'm like, good, sir. How are you? He's like, fine. That was it. That was like my whole interaction with Howard ever, was any of those times that we just happened to be in the same area of the lobby, was pleasantries. And I never got to talk to him or any of that stuff. But as far as like our staff didn't hate his staff and vice versa. I've known Shuli forever, so like I still talk with Shuli. We're still friends with Shuli. Sal and Richard, I would see them, we'd go downstairs and get lunch sometimes. They'd walk down to pick up food and then come back. So we would talk with them. Will Murray once in a while, Jason Kaplan once in a while. The only one I don't think we ever talked to or whatever was forget his last name, but his name was JD. He was this nerdy media guy for them. He would cut up all the clips or whatever. But anytime we'd see him, he'd just kind of go, like, he would look at us, and I don't know if just because he's an introvert or whatever that they call them nowadays. But yeah, he never was very friendly, never would say hi.
I bet you guys got along with Artie.
Yeah, because of Norton, and all the comics that we had on the show were friends with Artie. Everyone, like, I used to love when Artie would go to the bathroom roughly around the same time we would, because the break schedules. You'd hear Artie yell in the back, the fucking Giants or the Yankees. Like, he'd be saying whatever, just talking shop with whoever. And then he would go to the kitchen that we had in the back area there, and he'd like. One time he goes into the kitchen area, and it was like Stone Cold when he's in the ring. He goes up there and he waves his hand, and they're throwing beers, and he's got like 3 beer cans palmed in his hand because his hand's so huge. He was just taking cans of Hawaiian Punch, M&Ms from like the vending machine, and then a cup of pretzels, because he just would take a coffee cup. They'd have 3 pretzel rods in there, just dump them into there, and he'd walk around with. Yeah, Artie was fun.
Yeah.
I think that was the best era of Howard, actually, was Artie. I loved the Jackie era, the Billy West era thing, but I think the Artie on Howard era was the best run for that show.
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen with Howard? Do you think he wants to call it a career? Do you think they're going to offer him a couple million, $5 million a year?
They'll offer him something. I don't know if we'll ever hear if it's ever disclosed what it is, because they haven't disclosed. Like, we don't know the dollar amount for Stephen A. Smith's deal. It's big, but they never revealed the money. I think Sirius finally learned not to put out the dollar value on some of these things. I think they'll come to some sort of conclusion. I know forever, like, I used to talk to people on his tapes team and stuff just to learn their process and how they did things and what have you. There was always something there, that the reason why they were going through everything, digitizing everything with a fine-tooth comb, whatever, is that this stuff would live on after Howard was done, meaning retired from radio or left Sirius, whatever, that there would be like 101 would probably go away, and Howard 100 would be the all Howard all the time station of just his entire history of work on that one station. They'll come to some agreement with that for the licensing rights to keep broadcasting his archives or what have you.
Isn't it reported? I don't know if it's true that it's like 7 years currently after his retirement. They own his catalog.
That I have zero idea about. I have no idea.
Well, did you read the New York Post today? I read an article, and this will drop in a couple days, so this may be old news. But
I was being dad all day, so I was not paying attention to anything going on between last night and today. Is news to me.
So what they're saying is some of the show's writers have been saving their best jokes for themselves to use after the show's eventual demise. One worker said, "Most of us have been coasting at work the last year because we know he's retiring, whether by choice or because he's forced out."
I don't believe that article either. That sounds like bullshit speculation. When they say, what was it? It wasn't, they didn't say one writer said this, or did they say? Staffer.
One worker said
Worker. Okay, that could be anybody at Sirius saying that.
right.
That doesn't mean it's part of Howard's team. I don't believe that either. But here's the thing: when like they're saving their old jokes, go through the history of late night television award shows. All the people that had comics and professional writers on there, they write those jokes like for Leno's monologue, for Letterman's top 10, for all of those things. Yeah, but they also have some good jokes that might be kind of universal, whatever. They all save that stuff. It's not like everything I write, I have to 100% give to you, though, to those guys. I'm sure they have material saved in any walk of life where they're writing for a living. They have the best stuff, or not the best stuff, but any stuff they could reuse saved for themselves that they didn't submit for the show that they work on. That's just a no-brainer and obvious. A worker said could have been somebody who was an intern there, or somebody that's like a part-time employee. It's like, oh, we'll just say it's a work. Give us a quote. What have you heard? Oh, again, that's another article that's hearsay.
Yes. Well, this one then says most of us have been coasting the last year, admitted one longtime staffer.
Right. If that was true, I know for a fact that Marcy Turk and anybody else who's still overseeing things there, they would be having an internal investigation as if somebody caused a treasonous act to leak information to another country, right?
Yeah.
It's been well documented. I don't know if you follow any of that Dabbleverse stuff, but the shit Stuttering John used to say about Shuley while Shuley was still working there and that he was a mole, all this shit. Shuley's been very open about it, at least, as far as I know. He said, he's like, yeah, I had got called into meetings. He had to talk to Marcy and Gary and stuff. And he's like, no, I have no contact with John. What the hell are you talking about? They went through the emails and all that stuff, and they proved it. It's like, this is a guy talking out of his ass.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with it. So this could be anybody. I don't think this is, why would you be so dumb to be on that staff? Unless it's something that they said in passing on the air. Like if they were working on something and Richard or Sal just said, oh yeah, we didn't even we just been coasting on this thing for the whole time for something on air. That could have been paraphrased for this article, but who would dare in that environment say that? That is a cash cow, cushy job that you take to the grave until that thing is done. You ride that out. You don't do anything to cause a problem. Imagine getting fired now. Like they dig through and this was a real thing. You found out who the employee was, you fire him, and then Howard's done in like 3 months and you don't get severance. You don't get any of that shit.
Yeah.
Why would you risk that?
So
and if Howard does stay, you've got a 6-figure job that's going to last for another one. Your health insurance. There's too much to gamble.
Yeah.
On that for the New York Post, for any of these things, you're going to speculate on that?
Is it true he's got 95 writers and staff? What the hell are those guys doing?
No, he doesn't.
That's what this says too.
That's bullshit too. There's a video that shows you. There's a video that Howard TV even put out or something like that. That you can, I think, see it on YouTube. They showed you a little behind the scenes of the office and everything. He's probably got about 15 people back there, but they're segment producers, they're writers, they're doing all these other things. They're doing multiple things in there. Yeah. He doesn't have a staff of 95 writers.
Yeah. How much of that show, not that you would necessarily know, but you're closer than I am, because I got the feeling, like our show, there was very little planned out. Where it went, it kind of went. Like we had interviews that were in the bag, and then you'd air them, the next day. O&A, I got the feeling, was mostly just riffing. Howard, I
pre-recorded interviews.
What's that?
No, I can't remember if we ever pre-recorded an interview.
Yeah, see, we did. We would, and it was like, yeah, let's because a lot of ours, if you got a celebrity or something like that, it would be after the show. They wouldn't be available till 3:00 in the afternoon, so we'd have to record it.
Oh, they would never stay around. They would never hang around.
Yeah, you guys wouldn't hang around. We would
later to do it.
The best one was the guys in the early days were waiting for Andrew Dice Clay when he was the biggest guy in the world. And they kept going, he's held up. He's going to be another hour. And they ended up waiting all fucking afternoon for Andrew Dice Clay. And it got to a point, it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it was like, where is your guy? And whoever Dice's handler was famously said to us, yeah, he's not going to make it. He's washing his balls, and kind of hung up the phone. This is probably early 90s,
That could have been Club Soda Kenny.
Probably.
That could have been.
Yeah. He's
I don't know.
washing
I'm not
his
saying it
balls.
was Kenny. I don't know who was around him at the time. But.
No, it probably would have been Club Soda Kenny, because that's
Yeah.
right. He was, that's that whole connection there with Norton and Dice and Kenny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dice discovered Norton and brought him on tour and everything, just like Florentine.
Yeah.
Put him on to open up for him.
So what I was going to ask is, how much do you think of Stern's show is absolutely scripted? They know exactly what's going on every quarter hour.
So much of it is scripted. And I'm not knocking. I mean, some of it is terrible, but I'm not knocking a lot of it, because it does help to have structure and the whole mindset of O&A were good with speaking off the cuff, and that was because they were doing radio, but also because when Norton joined the show, they also learned to think and act like comedians do. So if you're integrating both, it's like, all right, you got the radio structure, but you can also talk long form, free form, like the comics do. That's the best of both worlds there.
Yep.
It's okay to have some structure. You have a prep sheet, whatever. Nowadays, it's like, oh, you prep your show, or you do all this. It's like everything's so segmented. Yeah, because I'd like to talk about things. I'd like to have. I don't want to, like, in this day and age, if I wanted to reference something, I would have had the clip ready for you, either to play on my end or your end. I would have had some pictures or audio. It's like, hey, I'd like to talk about this. Just have this on the standby. I'll lead you into it.
Yeah, that
kind of thing. That's fine. People who do this stuff now, it's like, oh, what was that thing? And now they're sitting there and they're trying to pull up a YouTube video, and it's clunky and it's all in thing, instead of prepping ahead of time. It's fine to prep and do all of those things. It's when you have, like, a lot of terrestrial radio shows now that are just not memorable or anything important, is because they don't know how to do that stuff, or they don't, and they get a prep sheet delivered to them every morning from whatever service, and they go word for word on those things, right?
I'm proud to say I don't think we ever used a prep sheet once in my time at Riff.
One time where I don't remember if it was CBS or if it was XM, somebody got a prep service and started giving us the prep service. I think the only time we used that stuff was either to make fun of the bits that topics that they suggested on it, which later became a thing. There was a site called Prep Burger and something else that we used to go there and, like, let's see what their big bit is for the week. And we'd go and figure that out, or they would have the one-sided conversation audio so that the local host could put in, like, they're having the discussion and whatever.
Yeah.
But we used to use it as a reference point when they would say, celebrity birthdays or important birthdays, but also this date in history kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as the internet was developing in the mid 2000s, we started finding credible sites, very well archived sites, that's like, here's what happened this day in history. Okay, cool. We don't need that prep shit anymore for that stuff. This tells you, it's like, but this is the day that, if you didn't know, but like, this was the day Kennedy was assassinated, or this is the day that Franklin Delano Roosevelt put into, signed the thing for Social Security. Like, those kind of things that you wouldn't know off the top of your head, but it could be something worth talking about.
Interesting stuff.
Stuff like that. This was the Lufthansa, incident. This is when this cruise ship blew up. This is when, back in the 60s. That stuff we would go through there. I'm like, all right, that works. That could work.
Sure.
And I would pull musician stuff because my thing was, it was a purposely cornball bit, but then it became the staple of what we were doing. That first break, we'd come back, I'd be playing a song, and Open Ant would be trying to figure out why I'm playing this song.
Yeah.
Without looking at the prep sheet.
Like as part of the bumper music coming back.
Yeah. So the rejoiner would be playing, and then you'd hear in this thing, it's like, why are we, all right, what does this song mean? Why are we playing this? Who died? Nobody died. Is it their birthday? No, it's not their birthday. What is going on here? This song came out back in whatever, blah, 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 blah. This was the second song that played on MTV that nobody remembered.
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
There's a difference between that kind of stuff that you're talking about, because we would do stuff like that too, versus the shows that relied on, like, they couldn't, if the fax machine went down that morning, they didn't have a show to do. That lazy bullshit was the stuff that that I couldn't stand. Like I had no interest in listening to those shows.
There was a thing, and then I'll get back to the Howard thing in a second. There was a thing that happened about 2 years ago, maybe 3 at this point, but at least 2 years ago, where I know iHeart did this, but maybe some other companies did too. They started promoting all these younger talent who were doing nights or middays or weekends somewhere and pairing them together and putting them on in markets around the country. So you would have a young guy and girl paired together that were doing morning shows in this market, and like medium-sized markets. And it's like, oh, they're paired together. These are the people that are in Boise, and this is the people that are in Salt Lake City. These are the people over here in Scottsdale, Tucson area, whatever, that kind of thing. And these are all people where, as a radio person, you're like, they're getting a chance to do a morning show. That's fantastic. But you also look at their history and what they do, and like, they're not ready to do a morning show, or they haven't been doing stuff that would prove that they should be ready to do a morning show. Right. So they get paired up and they get put all around the country. And then you'd start to see, I would follow their social medias for all these shows, and you'd start to see the same social media clips showing up on all of their feeds. And it's not like it's like, oh, this same clip is on everybody's thing, like a Facebook post from a big company. You could see that it's on the pop station on Facebook in your area. Oh, it's on the same thing posted on the pop station over in this area. Oh, this is the same one in Miami. This is you recognize those patterns. They would do the bit. And I remember there was a bit years ago. It was something about they would stand there with water in their mouth facing each other and try to slap each other in the face with like a burrito wrap or like a tortilla thing, right? And they would just slap each other in the face, trying to get them to laugh and spit the water out at the other person or something.
Yeah.
And I saw that once and I went, all right, that's weird, but whatever. And then throughout the day and then the week, I'm seeing other shows doing this. I'm like, oh no, this is a prep service thing.
Oh,
and you would see that they all were doing the same topics, same little stories, little clips that would come up there. And it's like, we might be the last generation that will ever see fireflies. What do you mean? Well, apparently fireflies are dying. And then you're like, oh, that's a weird little tidbit. Okay. Hey, there's that show that's out of Kansas
Boise.
City. Did you hear this thing about fireflies? And you went, oh my God, they're all right, fine. So that they were all forced to do prep service stuff. And then all of a sudden this year, they all got let go, or within the last year, those shows that they were promoted by the company, put together, it's like, you'll do what we tell you, whatever, fired all of them. They're all gone. So,
yeah. I mean, it almost goes against like true personality driven talent. Like true personalities would never, ever do, even in their younger days, would never do that.
You all said it's like, well, that the personality things were untouchable, and it's like, no, they were very touchable. They fucked a lot of the personality stuff up because they thought they cost too much. They're not. It's like, how do we cut the cost? We don't need to spend this much money. We could put anybody in there and still make the same amount of money.
Yeah,
and we don't. So they fucked the personalities over. Radio lost all their personalities with a handful of people still in there, but all their local personalities, they're all gone.
Yeah.
So then what happened? And they're buying these personalities, influencers, podcasters, whatever, to bring back to these companies to do these deals because you lost the personalities. Had you grown these people within like they used to and owned the property in-house, you wouldn't be spending a massive amount of money to get these shows for your network, for your satellite, for whatever. And they didn't do that. Now they're going to have to go out and buy because they're all successful on their own. It's like they're paying. We want to buy into your thing here. We'll pay you a ridiculous amount of money. We just want to carry a show and do the ad sales. And then you do all that stuff. You have a logo that's hanging in your studio that says our company, whatever. That's it. You think the podcasters and the influence give a shit about anything? And they go, all right, you're going to pay me 6, 7, 8, 9 figures for this thing? Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
What do I care?
Yeah.
They're not broadcasters. Not that you need to be a broadcaster anymore, but they're not broadcasters. They have the number. They don't need those companies, but they'll gladly take their money.
They'll take the money.
They should.
Yeah.
These companies should have personalities, and they don't. And now they're all like, fuck, we got to go out and buy personalities. Yeah, at a much higher cost than instead of building it on your own.
Yeah, because they're able to build it on their own.
Back to the Howard thing with the script stuff. Yeah, it's scripted. It's prepped, a lot of that stuff, but Howard can be conversational too. He'll do stuff like that, but you can tell, like when they have people calling characters or whatever. There are people who he has like a line of people who can do impressions, and it's obvious it's fake, whatever. But Howard's show has always been like that, where he used to have evil David Letterman and Billy West would do all those voices and everything, and it was obvious, but it was funny because they had a line of questions just to hear the reaction of the impersonator as that person, thinking that Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be, spewing the N-word all the time, or whatever else is going on. That was the funny part of it. Now it's like you can almost like predict what the line is going to be. I think there's a couple clips out there that are showing like Howard's kind of stumbling and you hear papers moving because he doesn't know what the next line is to do.
Really?
For that thing. Yeah, there's a couple of incidents out there that I think Carl has them, or they're on Carl's show. He has a couple of them that he played. There's things like that. The Metallica announcement this week, Carl played a clip. I heard it on Carl's show, so I didn't hear it live, but they were announcing that they're doing, they always had a micro channel for Metallica, and it was called Mandatory Metallica, like the old radio staple, whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing lasted like 6 weeks, and then, or 6 months, it would rotate and, with other things. Now they're doing it a full channel called Maximum Metallica. So the whole channel is just Metallica related stuff, friends, their fan club's going to be hosting shows. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that they're doing. Lars calls into Howard, talks to Howard, does the promotional thing, whatever. Then Howard takes a call after that, and it's some guy you can tell it's a voice actor or it's somebody that it's scripted. His phone line sounds too good. It sounds like somebody in the back office is on the phone, a hardline phone. The connection is too clear. It's too accurate. The guy's asking, something
He's
about
kissing his ass, isn't he?
Kissing his ass, and then saying, it's like Lars threw out these guitar picks, and I caught one at a concert once. It's like Lars is the drummer.
Yeah.
He'd throw out a stick. If James Hetfield or something would throw out the picks.
I watched that. And he wanted a Howard guitar pick. Wasn't that?
Yeah. Howard had guitar picks now and everything, but he was talking about how Lars threw out one at a concert and he had it saved. Lars wouldn't have guitar picks. He'd throw out drumsticks or something, right?
Yeah.
So then and Carl was breaking it down, and you're listening to it and you go, yeah, you're right. Carl's right. Yeah. That is a fake thing. Now that you're listening to it and you go, yeah, there's so much more of that now, but he has no room for error now.
So what do you think his clock looks like? Do you think he's got like guys on hold? And so it's 7:20 or, whatever his clock looks like.
It's whatever he wants to do. I mean, he still can. It's not like he has a hard clock. We got to take a commercial now. He knows when celebrities are coming in, or that's their hard times, is when we know the celebrity's coming in or there's a phoner with a celebrity. Well, he's coming on at 8 and he's only got 20 minutes, but he's going to call into the, okay, great. All right. So we'll take a break before that. So by 8 o'clock, Howard's in break, comes back 10 minutes later. There's the guest and what have you. That's the only thing I think he has hard times, is based on the celebrity interviews. Everything else is just, we'll do this, we'll do that, like a regular show should. It's like, we'll talk about this at 6 o'clock, we'll talk about this he's not on 6 anymore, whatever time he's in. First hour we'll do these two things, and then such and such is coming in, and then after that we'll Sal and Richard have a new thing we'll talk about. Like that's how it's all kind of laid out, and that's fine. That's how a show should be laid out. But there's some things that are meant to sound spontaneous and meant to sound like somebody's on the phone that's just a big fan, and it's all.
Do you think it was always like that with Howard? I never really.
If it was, you couldn't tell.
Yeah, I got the feeling that if he got a random caller from New York, someone called in from Long Island, and it spun into something big, like that wasn't planned.
I think that was. Yeah, well, again, you're on terrestrial where anybody can hear it and anybody can call in. Now,
right.
If you don't have satellite, you don't hear the show. You don't accidentally just turn it on, or you're at a, you go to a coffee truck or something like that where they got the radio on and you're hearing Howard. You don't accidentally hear him anymore. So you lose a lot of those people who would be fucking crazy calling in with their nonsense, and you would entertain that. Like, you wouldn't have that person in studio, but you would talk to them on the phone. When you try to purposely recreate that nowadays, it's too clean. It's too
it doesn't work. I love that about your show, that none of that was planned. Our show, none of that was planned. If it was planned,
we told you ahead of time that you got these scripts we're going to be doing there, and then we would produce the thing to make it sound like how it was supposed. We told you ahead of time, yes, this is scripted. This is not off the cuff.
Yeah. Yep. which is fine. I love the honesty of that and having a little production value behind it. That's a well-produced show, but the content was its own. It was real.
The best shows, I mean, not just us, but like Ron and Fez, you guys, Don and Mike to a certain extent, Howard, shows in that genre of they say guy talk, but it was personality talk, morning show kind of thing, right? When they were at their best is when they were taking from their own life experiences and having conversations where they would shit on each other and goof on each other, not like attacking sometimes the attacks are funny too, and some of them are warranted, a lot of them aren't. But if something dumb happened in your life and you brought it to the forefront and they're goofing on you while you're telling the story, and then the callers are calling in like, I can't believe you did this, Mike. What are you doing? You're such a dumb. That's great, because that sounds like a conversation that people would have.
Yes. I don't think I could have, honestly, I've thought about it many times, Erik, that I don't think I could have handled the shit like you put up with when you'd get your vacation a year and those guys would call you at 5 a.m, 6 a.m. And fuck with you. And you could tell there's no acting behind it. You were so fucking pissed. And it was so funny to listen to. And I've thought about it. Like, if my guys did that to me, I don't know that I would have been able to handle it as well as those guys. It must be a New York thing where the ball busting is at such a level. They're just all so used to it.
Well, it's a combination of a couple things, because we had some people on staff that couldn't handle that. And people love to say, that I couldn't handle it there. I was there from beginning to end. I was there constantly like, well, my favorite is this. Well, if you didn't talk about it, or if you didn't bring it up, or you didn't post that thing there, they wouldn't talk. Like, this wouldn't have happened. Right. Like, yeah, you caused your own problems.
Right. It's a talk show.
Very few of that. Where was the problem in that stuff? Well, they were constantly shitting on you. You just look like an asshole. We gave you content. I know what my job was. I've worked in radio where I was producers or assistant producer or whatever for other morning shows, other personality type shows, where my job was just very mechanical. It's like, do this or that. Here's the prep. Here's the clip. Here's that, there, and there. Where they didn't allow producers to talk on the air. You weren't that kind of role for that kind of show. The host did it. And I've been through that, but I knew what my role was. I knew my value. I knew the importance of it. If they wanted to talk to me, hey, I'd throw stuff out to them. If they got to it, great. If they didn't, they didn't.
Sure.
On that show, they loved that stuff that you would bring. And even it tells these stories all the time. And he goes, sometimes, you're kind of dragging. You got another hour and a half left in the show. Then you're like, all right, let me look back into my life and see what I can bring up here to bring up on the show. And Jimmy would do that. He learned it from Norton. Norton taught a lot of us to do a lot of that. They'll bring up parts of your life to put it out there, and hopefully they would make something of it. And that's what we did. We pulled stuff out of there. We have had people that were on the show that would get pissed over certain things, and rightfully so. Sometimes they get pissed and you go, you're a fucking mental patient. That's why this is going on as long as it is, because you can't, you can sit there and ball bust and make fun of the other people and try to sabotage the other people. Like they loved getting evidence. I got these clips. I took this photo. I have those things. Giving layers instead of just hearsay, which is the right thing to do. But it's the intent behind it sometimes was wrong. But you did that. I took it all. I made the best I could with it. There were times that the line was crossed, and I was like, I can't. We went as far as you go.
I was going to ask you, did they ever cross a line where you were like, this guys?
I think like two. I know two, maybe three times. There was where the most famous one is where Ope didn't dump out my phone number. He thought it'd be funny, just to call me and give out my phone number. And now I'm away on vacation with my family. I can't use my phone because it's a brick, because my messages and voicemails are all locked out because of constant. And I just, I had to borrow somebody else's phone. And it's like, I'm not coming back, or I'm done, or whatever. And then I had like all day, our boss at the time, Tim Sabian, was trying to get in touch with me. It's like, I've been trying to call you for hours. I was like, Tim, I don't have a phone. They gave my phone. My phone does not work. If I turn it on, it's either nonstop or there's errors. I've never seen an error screen. If you have an iPhone and you have the little green
99.
all nines. It's like, it's impossible. I can't do anything with this. I can't get in touch. I'm livid. You're ruining a family vacation or my honeymoon or whatever this shit here. I'm done. I don't want to hear it. And you hang up the phone. I'm on vacation, so they can't fire you while you're on vacation. They'd have to wait till I come back from vacation. So at that kind of point, you're like, they can't do anything to me. Fuck them. Bye. Done. And then you come back and now management's scrambling because legally you had 3 people on dump buttons that didn't hit the dump button. So now everyone's in fucking trouble for all these things here. And I said, it's like, I don't care if the audience is like, oh, you're being a baby, but fuck all of you. This happened to me. Didn't happen to you. You deal with this shit.
It made for great radio, though. I mean, at the end of the day,
it does. I know it does, and I understand that point. Like, I'll get through all of that stuff, but like you said, you're known for good radio. I grew up studying late night talk shows and radio, and I've had the best of all the worlds. From my dad watching Carson, so I watched Carson. I grew up watching late night. I was watching, like, figuring out the VCR and taping the 12:30 show to watch the next day after school. Growing up in New York, I listened to Scott Shannon a lot, who created the morning zoo format. Like, you could goof on that thing all you want. It was bastardized by so many people. That's why it's the butt joke of the industry. But when done right and done first, he did it. He had that whole thing there. It was amazing. It was never done before. I was in there. I heard that as it happened. I was in New York. Then when I got older and figured out Howard, about Howard, I listened to Howard. My grandfather used to listen to this guy who was on WABC in, why am I spacing out his name now? But super controversial, even before Rush Limbaugh and all that. Like, he was the guy. And like, he was on the cover of the New York Times because he started making, racial comments and things, and blew up. But I'm spacing out his name right now. I'm going to look it up while we talk. But like, I listened to all of these things from all these aspects of radio and took what I could from it, learned from all of these people, being so fortunate being in that area of the country where you had New York radio, but you also had most of the stuff was syndicated out of New York. So what the rest of the country was hearing, I was still hearing here too. Very rarely does stuff get syndicated into New York, unless it's sports for some reason. Everything comes out of New York. So I had all of this going on, learned and listened and taped and traded and all of these things there, and realized what the job was. And I was very naive in radio, even going into O&A. Like, even though I'd been in radio almost 10 years before I got to them, this was a whole new world to me. So I was learning on the job while knowing what their world was and whatever. But you grow and all this, understanding this, how lucky we were to have these jobs. It was a privilege. It was, now you're lucky to have any kind of job in this business, but having a job in radio, 1 in New York, 2 national, 3 international, because we started going into Canada, satellite, which we were one of the pioneers for that, to cross over, syndicated on satellite and terrestrial. Like, we did all of these things to realize how lucky you were to be on that show and to be in that situation, despite the egos and the infighting and all the other stuff that, people love to focus on. That was part of it too. But let's look back a little bit and go, how great this was. What an experience this was. And
I think you guys, I think our show did
Bob Grant. That was the guy's name. Sorry.
Bob Grant.
It just popped into my head. Bob Grant. If you want a good history and talk radio, go find clips of Bob Grant, WABC in New York from like the 70s and the 80s. Listen to what he was doing before everybody else was doing.
Really?
You'd be mind blown by some of that stuff.
Some of the content.
Sit there, people would call him with something and he would just go, "What is wrong with you? Get off my phone." Like, he'd be screaming at the people calling into him. You're like, what is this? My grandfather used to listen to him in the car.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like the music industry when punk, disco happens and then punk comes and 80s hair metal into grunge. Radio's a lot like that too. And you go from, very clean into the morning zoo, into the kind of Howard, but they all played by a clock. And what your show, what Opie and Anthony and Drew and Mike did, like, there were times we didn't run a commercial between 7 and 9. And, you guys would do that too. You'd get on these rolls with Patrice O'Neill, Jimmy bringing his comic friends in. It was really the birth of the podcast and talk format like we'd never heard before. I love that about our show. Dude, the first hour we would front load commercials in that 6 o'clock hour, that 10 o'clock hour, we could run 30 minutes of commercials in 45 minutes because we went from 7 to 9 in prime time without taking a break. Straight talk, straight, whatever. And I feel like you guys did that too.
Yeah. Look, we were not. I can't say like we were not the best to ever do it. We were not even the first to do some of this stuff. Howard,
Who else did it?
Steve Dahl.
Yeah.
Like I said, Bob Grant. There are factions of people around. You can go back even to the 60s and stuff. There's elements of like Wolfman Jack, how he would freeform, doing almost talk radio to himself, not even talking to the callers while he's supposed to be playing Beach Boys and, those kind of records. And he's had that voice. He had that personality. He always sounded like he was on an acid trip. He would talk to you. There was all these elements that would build up. Art Bell, you wouldn't even think would be, you wouldn't put him in the genre of the hot talk stuff of that. But as far as talk and personality, listen to Art Bell. He would talk to the lonely truckers. He would talk to the crazies in the middle of the night. The people that swore that they were abducted a million times and how he would handle and treat them.
Where was he out of? Was he like in the Southwest?
I don't remember.
Nevada or some shit?
Where Art Bell was.
New Mexico or...
I'm looking it up right now. See, this is the shit I'm talking about. It's like, let's try to find it up right now because we didn't have it prepped, but
no,
it was a spontaneous question.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I didn't know this, and I listened to the tapes of him for years. He broadcast out of a small town in Nevada.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Nevada, New Mexico, something like that.
Pahrump, which sounds made up. Pahrump, Nevada. Pahrump. That's where his KNYE 95.1 was where his show would broadcast from, and then would go coast to coast around the country, doing all of that stuff there. But he's got a movie coming out too with Paul Giamatti playing Art Bell.
Really?
There's a movie about his
life.
Giamatti
his career. Be great.
Yeah. But all those people, if you're out there, if you loved radio, talk radio or that, or if you're looking into radio, I don't know why you would do it at this point in your life, but look up all those people I just mentioned there. Look all of them up and everything's easy to goof on now because if it's old or if it's not, if it's new to you, but if you sit there and really listen and just try to understand what it is that they're doing for the time that they're doing it. And you go, okay, well, everybody does that. Yeah, everybody does that now. But this was back when nobody was doing this. Listen to the first people. Rick Dees, it was another one too, out of LA. He was doing something, to an extent of what Scott Shannon was doing, that big personality morning kind of show from the West Coast, and in a little different family that had a celebrity element, where Scott's Morning Zoo thing didn't have the celebrity element, but they would have the you piece all these things together and you see, well, this guy all contributed to this. And then this plot can do this guy that brought it up to this, that brought it up to this. You get to see where all this came from and have a better appreciation of how lucky we were to be in this position.
Oh, yeah.
You doing the Drew and Mike show, me doing O&A and other stuff like that. How lucky we're to be in this business at all. Enjoying it. And also working as fans of shows that we were on and fans of the business to be working in the business.
Yeah, it was. I'm really glad too, in part, that when I started, anyways, was before the internet was like a big deal. So you didn't. You had to work, and I remember I got burned by someone I think you really love. I was doing morning radio in Lansing, Michigan, and we had an interview with Weird Al Yankovic.
Okay,
and I think you're a big fan of Weird Al.
Huge
fan. It was one of
stuff over here.
It was one of those prep sheet moments, like, and my partner at the time, David Gross, Dave the Beagle, he was an alcoholic, probably still is, but he was like, yeah, we're having Weird Al on tomorrow. I was like, oh, okay. I was so green. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then he called in sick the next morning. And I remember being there, totally forgot Weird Al was calling in, the hotline rings, and it's fucking Weird Al Yankovic to promote a show in Lansing, Michigan. And I'm live on the air with Weird Al. don't know shit, don't have the internet, can't prep anything. And it's just like, so how's it going, man? Just like, I still think about it to this day. One of the most horrifying moments of my life. Poor Weird Al
Well,
Yankovic.
the best thing is for you is that it haunts you. You remember it. You learned from it, and there's no evidence of it anywhere. So
none
that
evidence.
You need those moments in your life where something, not disaster fucked up, where it's like I ruined my family's life, or that to that level. But you need those moments where like, shit, I got fired because of some dumb thing, or oh man, I got reamed out because of this happened. But man, more times than not, those are moments that needed to happen so that you learned from it and could course correct and could recognize those things. Going forward, like, oh, I can see where that meeting, they want to have that meeting. No, I'm not going to that meeting. I can see where that's going to head and what they're going to say. I'm not going there. I rather deal with, you didn't show up for the meeting. You're right. I didn't. Where were you? I had a doctor's appointment. Oh, mysterious. This is a true story. You mysteriously seem to have doctor's appointments on at this time on Tuesdays when we have the meeting. Oh, really? Yeah, that is a bit of a coincidence. I purposely did that. So I would, because my doctors were in Manhattan, a few blocks away from where we work. So it was convenient. And I didn't need to sit in their dumb meeting to hear about nothing that they thought they were going to try to add to the show. It's like, well, you got to, like, eventually at some point, you have to go to those meetings. But
are these consultant meetings?
No, it's just
management wanting to be involved.
Yeah, here's the problem. Sirius had us, but didn't want to deal with us. So they put people in charge so that upper management, like executives, didn't have to ever really deal with us unless it was absolutely necessary. So it's essentially, it was like corporate babysitters. Right. And then they felt like they needed to do something. Now, look, a couple of them were put in very difficult situations. They were nice people. They've had success on their own doing other things. And, I've talked to some of them since those days, and I've said, look, I'm sorry for half the shit that, that I put you through, or we went whatever here, considering what we were doing in the time. And, it was what it was. And I felt bad. I should have talked, and they'd be fine. We'd talk about it. And that's how you grow as a person. When people start saying, it's like, oh, you do this and you do that, I go, I did that on the show 20 years ago. Like, if I'm still that same person, there's something wrong with, I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah, sure.
I've moved on. I've grown and I've done other things. That was a moment. I'm not denying that, but that I'm not stuck in that part of time where that identifies me, or that's my mindset or whatever.
Sure.
But then you have management who were there because they failed on terrestrial radio, got hired at Sirius, and then tried taking the things that didn't work on terrestrial radio and tried to do it on satellite radio. You'd be amazed how many failed country music programmers work at Sirius XM as executives. And you were like, oh, they're in charge of they're overseeing all the pop stations. This one oversees the decade stations. This one's overseeing whatever. And you're like, let me go look back at their history and like, oh, he's on this date. Why aren't they because they're garbage. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not good. So, you got to feel all that stuff out.
Yeah. Hey, let me do a couple reads really quick. This part of the show brought to you by the Deer Lake Athletic Club in Clarkston. They offer adult and junior tennis, pickleball, swim lessons, and junior swim team. Fitness classes are included with membership in their gym, cycle room.
I'm going to pee real quick.
Go pee real quick. I'll knock these out.
Keep that in your read there.
Yeah. 3 pools. The Backcourt Restaurant inside the Deer Lake Athletic Club is also open to the public with weekly dinner specials and kids' meals for just $5 on Thursdays and live entertainment on the weekend. Book your holiday party before Thanksgiving in their banquet center to qualify for their banquet specials. Visit the website at deerlakeathleticclub.com for more info, or call them today at 248-625-8686. Also, all you monsters out there with Roops, they're having a doggy pool party with a doggy biscuit bar on September 7th. Call them today, 248-625-8686 for all the details. And also, this part of the show is brought to you by your insurance expert, of course. Are you paying too much for health insurance? Are you uninsured? Health insurance can be confusing. Nick Matthews from Your Insurance Expert is an expert in health insurance, life insurance, and Medicare supplements, so you do not have to be. Call Nick Matthews today at 248-914-1173. And as we wait for Erock to take a whiz, I'll be gone the rest of the week. I got Tooch flying into town on Tuesday. My boy Tooch, who was the single greatest radio sales guy I've ever seen in my life. He's an absolute monster. He's coming into town, and we're going to a golf outing up north. And so I'm really glad I got to have Erock on today, give you guys a couple hours at least. I got a couple more questions for him. I want to ask him about Ozzy coming in and the relationship he built with Jimmy Norton, which is wild. And Erock would have been there for all of that, but it's kind of cool. You know, I love talking to the radio nerd that is Erock, and his knowledge is second to none. Let's see if there's anything else. God, I almost wish I could ask listeners what they want to hear. Oh, I've got to ask him this too. Someone asked Anthony if he banged Heather Graham, Roller Girl from what was that Mark Wahlberg movie? Yeah, you know the one. And he gave some weird answer about that. I wonder if Erock will tell us. I don't know if he will, but when I heard Ant talking about it, and he was talking with Gavin McInnes, and I heard something, and he didn't deny it. He was like, well, you know, it's like, is that possible? Really? I don't know.
What did I not deny?
Well, I heard Anthony recently, and I can't remember where I heard this. He might have been talking with Gavin McInnes. Do you know, is there any truth? Did he sleep with Heather Graham?
Who, Anthony?
Anthony Cumia. Roller Girl from fucking, yeah.
No, that's news. That's not anything I've ever heard or even alluded to.
I swear to God, and I wrote it down in my notes. I was like, I got to ask Erock if there's any fucking truth to this. He did not deny it. And I don't know where this came up. And Anthony was like, how did you hear about that? It might have been Carl. Maybe Carl asked him.
Dude, that is news to me. You
sure
he didn't
it was Heather Graham, dude.
No, you sure he just wasn't being sarcastic or something and just like, yeah, you
know.
Dude, no. I don't think I think you got your information.
Dude,
incorrect.
I got it from the horse's mouth. He was talking about, text him right now and say, dude, someone's asking me if it's true.
He's live streaming video games. I might as well just fucking break into his house. That's how serious he takes it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, will you promise to ask him later?
Yeah. I don't even know how to approach that without being in the studio, to walk in and then just ask. Like, I can't bring that up in real. There's no way in hell that's true. None. I think you got your information wrong, or you misheard something.
There's no way I misheard this. And it was Heather. I swear to God. I don't know. Because then he mentioned Nicolini, and he was like, well, that was true. And I don't know. Where did you even hear that? But he did not deny it. I swear to God, dude. And I was like, well, Erock would know.
I think you're being had. Like, it had to have been a goof moment or something that they brought it up. There's no way.
I think I'm pretty good at seeing goof moments, but dude, you would know. You of all people would know if there was any truth to that.
If you're asking me, I'm saying no, because there's no evidence. In all my years, I've never heard anything even remotely close to that.
I want it to be noted right now that I asked you this question, and we'll see if there's anything to this.
Now you need to go and find where you heard this. You need to now go and get that clip and then put it with this and then put that out online.
I almost want to.
I would be happy to say I'm 100% wrong, but I know from my current knowledge as a fact, that is not a thing.
Okay, I'm going to text you later and remind you to do some inquiry, because I swear to God, if I find the clip,
homework. I'm not. You need to find the clip where he said this.
I've done my homework. I can't remember it, dude. I heard it literally yesterday.
Okay.
As I was prepping the Howard Stern thing, and I was like,
he's not on Fridays, but
no, I know, but it might have been a 3-day-old clip. I don't know, but I was just going through some stuff on the net and saw that, and I was like, what
else were they talking about?
He mentioned Nicolini next.
No. But what was the whole
It must have involved Howard or something. He might have been, like I said, it was either Carl, it might have been Who Are These Podcasts, and it was kind of in passing. And I was like, what?
All right. You need to go through your YouTube history when you're done here and find wherever this thing was. Okay. That is news to me.
If I find it, I will screen share it and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please do. Because I would love to see this clip.
It'd be just fine if you went, dude, you're a fucking moron. I can't believe you fell for that. I'd be fine with that. Totally. Before we get out of here for the day, and thank you for spending so much time. I know you got better shit to do with your time, but
apparently not. So somewhere my kid is roaming free, and I'm hoping the best.
That's fine. Your kid's going to be fine. I really appreciate it, Erock. I mean it. I love doing this with you. Ozzy Osbourne recently passed away. I'd love to hear if there's any story behind how on earth Jimmy Norton became close friends with that family. I know Ozzy came in studio. It led to one of the funniest moments in the history of terrestrial radio. When Ozzy left the books there that Jimmy went and bought for him for his birthday.
It's one of the few celebrity stalking stories that had a good ending.
Yeah.
It's like he was, if for anybody doesn't know, Jim Norton, been on our show forever, very famous comedian, lifelong Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath fan. And just over time talking about it on the shows and in his specials and what have you, he got, I don't know if he met Ozzy before he joined the show. I think he might have, but it was definitely from a big help from Ozzy being on our show so many times.
Was Ozzy on a bunch, really?
Yeah, I think we had at least, if not probably close to 10.
Really?
He's been on the show. Yeah. Between the
regular Osbournes,
terrestrial. I know he was on our XM show a couple of times. He was on while we were Sirius XM and what have you. Ozzy, just it worked, and Jimmy being Jimmy while Ozzy was there. Ozzy loved Jim, and then he became friendly with Sharon, and it just evolved that way. You know, it worked. It was right place, right time for Jim, and doing things the way Jim did that. It worked out for him. In fact, this one's funny. After that farewell concert, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a clip backstage where his daughter Kelly gets proposed to by her boyfriend
Sid. Yeah, from Slipknot.
Jimmy's there. He's like right there. Like when you watch the video, all of a sudden on the front right of the screen, there's just, and he's wearing the worst outfit. He's just wearing like that ash gray sweatsuit, that sweatpants that that they used to make fun of, that you'd wear Jim in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, yeah, like a champion sweatshirt.
He's so underdressed compared to everybody else, but he's right there on the right side and everything. And then they move over. Jim moves over a little bit so you can see him propose to Kelly and everything. That's the short clip. There's a longer clip where they pan around the room and there's Jim right there again. I'm like, Jim's there for his final show. Jim's there with the family. Jim's there for a very intimate family moment.
Yeah.
And
that famous shot of Kelly turning in absolute surprise that she's being proposed to, and it's fucking Norton's head that's in that shot. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
And knowing what a fan he was, I don't know. I always think of that Jimmy going out. I can picture him at Borders Books buying all those Beatles books for Ozzy, knowing Ozzy's a big fan.
He spent a couple $100 on
dude,
those books.
It's and Jimmy.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
There's a clip I put out on my channel, which is, I never know where the camera thing is. Right there. If you go to It's Erik Nagel on my YouTube channel, there's a thing where I've been doing this thing. I call it the Nagel of Death, because it's been an ongoing thing for my show, the O&A show and everything for the last 20 years. When a celebrity dies, I post a photo in black and white of me and the celebrity, but it's not like what everybody does now, because that drives me fucking nuts. Everyone posts their photos with celebrities and acts like they're friends.
I've done it. Yeah.
I don't act like they're my friends. I post the reason why I did it the way I did. I did it since MySpace. That's how long this goes back. Was I got it from when the Oscars and the Emmys would do like their in memorandum
Yeah.
things,
In
and they
memoriam.
used to be the black and white photos and with the somebody singing or classical music, whatever.
Hmm.
And it was meant to be a bit of an honor moment for the people who have passed. So I took that concept. I'm like, all right, the black and white photo, that seems to be cool. I would post the photo, and then I'd write something about what they meant to me, or what, not like, well, rock and roll was changed forever, thanks to him, whatever, R.I.P., what, like, I don't
Yeah.
do
More
that shit.
personal.
I try to write an anecdote about what that person meant to me, or why this was a thing for me. I wrote a big, like, in that week, I wrote 3 of them
Yeah. I
because
was going to say Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan, obviously, but I
Yeah.
postponed my post 20 minutes after it was announced on TMZ that Hogan had passed. I started getting flooded, like, "Where's your photo? I don't see the
Yeah.
photo. I'm like, now I'm not doing it because you're all assholes. I'm not doing it there. I waited a few days and then I posted the thing. But like for Ozzy, I wrote something, and I gave all the credit in the world to Norton. I said, I always knew of Ozzy, but I didn't really become a big fan of Ozzy until started working with Jim Norton and started to appreciate the guy and his music more and everything. So a lot of
Yeah.
it was thanking Jim for, getting me into this. And then every time we had Ozzy on the show was, great and memorable. And I tried to post a couple of other things with it that people normally don't have. Like when we were doing certain events with Ozzy, or we were at other moments somewhere, I post those kind of things. And then before that, Malcolm Jamal Warner
Yeah.
did a whole
Yeah.
thing about the Cosby Show for my generation. I think you're around my age, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What our generation, how important the Cosby Show was
More
to
important than
us
people even realize today that you
growing
hear. Like,
up, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So, I've been doing these little clips called, it's like Angel of Death, but it's me. So my name is the same as Angel. So just switch the letters, Nagel of Death. And then it would just be little segments about us on my show, playing clips from O&A or whatever, talking about it, and it going into more depth as to why these things were important to us.
Hmm.
I did the one with Ozzy. I put that up there, and that was my whole thing. Was I didn't quote song lines, I didn't do lyrics, I didn't do any of those other things there. I had the photo in black and white with Ozzy. It's like, here's the thing, go watch the clip. And I just brought up the time about the books. I showed the clip on my show because we have a different audience than what we used to do. And I said, here's something that you don't know. After that clip, which is online, you can see everybody laughing at Jimmy because Ozzy walked out without his birthday gift. Those books
It's
sat in
so
my office for many weeks. Like
seriously.
they were right next to my desk in my office for the longest time because Jimmy just would not take them home. And we kept telling him, like, Jim, just take the books back, get your money back. And he
Yeah.
just wouldn't do it. It was some kind of pride thing that was hurt with him. He
Yeah.
would not, he would not take the books back. And they sat there for so long. So I was explaining about where they were in the office, why we had the receipts, even past the point of I don't know how long you have to take a book back, but it was longer than that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Where are those books now?
Who the hell knows? Dumpster somewhere, or somebody at Sirius took them. I mean, I don't know what happened to them,
Yeah.
but, uh, yeah, I don't remember what led to this,
Yeah.
but
No. Well, asking about, I think it's the greatest celebrity death triangle ever. Hulk Hogan, Ozzy Osbourne,
well,
and
it wasn't a
Theo.
triangle. That was the thing. It was 5 people within 5 days, and
Was
only
it?
3 of them got real mentions of it.
Who
You had
who
Connie
were the other
Francis,
two?
who was a legendary singer. I mean, before our time, but Connie Francis, very famous singer. And then at the end of the week was Chuck Mangione, master of
Yeah.
the French horn.
Yeah, but when you're talking about celebrity death triangle, I mean, meeting all the requirements, Theo Huxtable, Ozzy Osbourne, and
That's
Hulk
from
Hogan.
current pop culture eyes,
Yeah,
though. But when you look at Connie Francis. I'm not saying the kids love Connie Francis, but you look back at her work and you go, she was a fucking celebrity, a legend that deserved, to be mentioned in those things. But
yeah,
everybody sensationalized shit, so that it's like Ozzy was the big deal until Hulk Hogan, and then it was like, well, Ozzy's still dead, but Hulk Hogan's dead, and then half the people like, fuck Hulk Hogan, he's a racist or whatever. Then
yeah,
it became, back to real life, everybody hating somebody for something,
yeah.
and muddied the waters again. But that, and then Chuck Mangione, yes, he had like 2 hits, but known for that. He was huge as part of King of the Hill, and they were tying it in because King of the Hill just came back in its new
Yeah.
form and what have you. So they were like the creators from King of the Hill were putting out photos and stuff about Chuck's being a big part of that show and being another one in a long line of people who have died from that show, along with Tom Petty and other cast members and stuff like that. So there was a lot of relevance to the people
What
who
was
died
his
that week.
role on King of the Hill?
Chuck Mangione.
Yeah.
He was Chuck Mangione. He just would show up at like
okay.
their Walmart. Hank had a photo of him hanging on the wall. For some reason, Chuck Mangione was huge in the Hill House, and then he just became an ongoing thing on
Gotcha.
that show. But
What do you think is how do you think Hulk Hogan is remembered? Because I know you're a big wrestling guy. And I was kind of shocked at how many people, and I think it's because of how he voted and standing up for Trump. I was kind of surprised at the hatred for Hulk Hogan that was posted almost immediately after his death.
well, yeah, there was that, but there's been up until this week, there was a seething underline of wrestling fans becoming super I don't want to say woke because that term is pointless, but super liberal minded on a lot of these things and getting pissed at the WWE because now that they're taken over by TKO, there's a lot of things that have been changing that regular people or really liberal people don't like that they're doing. And it all came to a head this week. There's so much shit, but that was their seething when Hogan died. But everybody still feels like Hogan should have been dead because that tape came out where he said he didn't like his daughter dating black guys and
Yeah.
all that stuff. But then I guess there was another clip that I forgot to look up until now, but apparently there was something about was after Nick's car crash where his
Okay.
friend died or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And
That was post the Hogan family show.
right.
Yeah,
And then
I remember that.
Nick kind of got off of that, not scot-free, but way better
Yep.
than he should have. That happened, and then apparently the other hearsay was that there was some other shit that was going on in the family, and I guess there's recordings or some of Hogan saying, "Oh, this is karma. When we come back, we're going to be a black family or something."
Oh
Like
God.
so like it doubled down. I haven't heard that one, but I saw a lot of that coming in. It was coming into our chat when I was talking about Hulk Hogan. I was like, I don't know anything about that, but I've saw it online too for people who don't even interact with my show. And I was like, oh, this must have been a thing. I never bothered to look at for it either. But
Yeah.
again, hearsay for that part. But all the other stuff, everyone says like he's a racist. He should like now it's just like if you say anything that somebody doesn't like, they want you dead immediately. It's not even like
it's crazy.
I don't like that person. I don't want to support that company that hires that person. It's not even that anymore. It's like you need to die. You need to die. You and your family dies. It's like old mafia tactics.
I see it a ton with Trump. Every day in my feed, I see people like, is today the day? Did you guys ever have Trump in studio? I know Don Jr. was a big fan of your show and would call in.
Don Jr. used to go fly fishing with Opie, like upstate New York. They would go fly fishing and stuff. Don Jr. Used to come on the show a lot. Donald Trump would only call in.
Yeah.
I think we only had 2, maybe 3 times that we've talked to the now president, but he was never in
studio. Well, we can wrap it up on this because you made an interesting point when you and I were texting the other day about Howard's relevance and why he's so important to Sirius. Donald Trump did come in studio and into that building to do Howard's show. And I think you think that that's
many years ago.
Yeah. But the aspect of celebrities coming in studio has a lot of value.
Yeah.
When kind of going full circle on the Howard news that's been going on the last week or so.
When that first article came out, I had talked with Anthony and several other people about this whole thing. And everyone was just asking, what do you think about this? You think Howard will resign, whatever? It comes down to this. One, I had mentioned earlier, the value in his archives they're definitely, whether he stays or not, they're definitely going to eventually run a archive channel of Howard, the history of Howard. How much of that you'll get, I don't know, because they scrub everything. Like
Yeah, I was gonna say
there's nothing of look, I hate Stuttering John to no end, but like they don't play it. You know, he sued them. He tried to sue him over bullshit nonsense and rightfully lost. They don't play anything with John in there. Artie's was a different situation, but they never play anything with Artie. They don't even reference it if they don't have to. There's a lot of stuff that got scrubbed out and cleaned that they just don't play if they don't need to play it. Like they don't play. It's not that they won't mention Jackie. They'll talk about it if it has to, but they don't play any old stuff with Jackie in it anymore. They don't do any of that stuff. So
Yeah,
I don't
like
know what you get.
was it Wendy the retard or something they used to call her? Was that the
Yeah,
like
she started on another show in Orlando. She was from the Orlando area. She used to call the midday show. Howard's was on a Clear Channel station in Orlando. And after that, there was a midday show called The Monsters of the Midday. And Wendy was one of their characters. Stuff would call in all the time for this stuff. And then she started calling into Howard because he was on the same station as them. And then all of a sudden she became a fixture on Howard and stopped calling the other shows that would actually take care of her and do things with that. But that changed with the times. It wasn't they just calling her Wendy, but it was like Gary. It was Gary the retard. And then they called him Gary the Conqueror because they weren't allowed to call him, or they felt they couldn't call him the other word anymore.
Yeah.
They changed up things like that. So I don't know what you'll get with an archive channel, but that's where the money is. The other thing, what you said about celebrities, that is the value. And I know a lot of people, I got a lot of feedback when I did Carl's show from people online and saying it's like you're a fucking psycho, or you're an asshole. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Nobody cares about celebrities. It's like the celebrities coming in there. Nobody's giving a shit about the celebrities that Howard brings. That's not true. Sirius is all, like you referenced earlier. Sirius is all about celebrities. If you're famous, whatever, that's all they care about. Howard has the ability to bring people into that building, into his studios, that would not have come to Sirius to begin with. Right. So there's value in that too. Is like people will come to do Howard's show and then they can piggyback off that guest booking and then book maybe that because they're in the building, put them on a couple of other programs at Sirius to spread it around a little bit. And so they did Howard, yes, but then, if it was
Chris Cornell.
Well, he's dead, but like a big artist or something like that.
Back in the day, though,
they wouldn't have done it, but did Howard. Then maybe they could bring them over to the Hits One channel because that's another big channel that's listened to for there. Or would
you guys ever swipe them?
No, we didn't swipe the guests. We would have the publicists who would we knew they were coming in. Our booker Roland would tell us like, oh, they're coming in to do Howard, or can we get them after Howard? Sometimes it was like Hugh Jackman we never could get because he would be there to do Howard and then he had to leave to go do TV or whatever.
Right.
Other times there would be guestings like they're doing Howard first and then we would get them after Howard. So we were like the second booking on there. So when he was done, we would get notes. It's like with Howard, they're wrapping up with Howard. Okay, we're going to wrap up and go to break so that we could come back. By the time they walk down the hall, we're ready to bring whoever it is in.
Yeah.
So they would be booked. It wasn't going and stealing guests. Everybody knew ahead of time. We just knew that it was hands off until Howard was done.
Right. Right.
They would be walked out of his complex in the corner of the floor there. And like Roland would meet their handlers or whatever, and then walk them down to our show. And then we would get them after the fact. So that alone is valuable too.
It's value in the building too, because it's not lost on me what it does to salespeople, marketing people, traffic people, anybody who's in that building when Kid Rock would come in or Tommy Lee comes in. Like people show up to work early. They, everybody in the building wants a picture, wants to see him in the hallway. It's
but
just the way it is.
You can't flood the celebrities coming in here because then they won't. Publicists, say what you want, publicists run everything. It's not the celebrity ever. If the publicist doesn't like you, you'll never get them. If you don't do a favor for the publicist, you'll never get them. So there's times we've taken so many guests because the publicists for whatever agency asked us to take them. We would take them, and then down the line, they would bring us the bigger person.
Sure.
It even went with like when Letterman and Leno were still big deals on television. You would see certain guests like on the Friday night show or Monday show where it'd be like the third tier, like you'd have the big guest, the music act, the third guest, or
Hmm.
big guest, second guest, third guest. You would have a lesser brand new actor or actress, whatever. The new movie's coming out, and she's maybe fifth on the call sheet for that movie in there. But they're also represented by this agency that eventually would get them like Will Smith or Tom Cruise down the line, and those agencies would go, if you take this person here and this person here, when the big thing comes up for the summer, whatever, we'll bring Will to the show.
Yeah,
Okay.
you take young Heather Graham, and then we'll give you Will Smith
Yeah.
at some
So,
point.
yeah, you take the lesser or up and coming talents for these
Yeah.
as favors or whatever. Publicists run the world of entertainment. So you would do all of that stuff. We knew they would go do Howard. They'd come in there. You can't just run up and grab, ask for a photo for
No.
anybody. You had to coordinate with the talent bookers
Sure.
at Sirius and the publicists, and like if they're cool, and it's like if your show was doing an interview with that person, yeah, everyone, you could get photos with that person. If they were a guest and they were not scheduled to be on your show, you had to go and ask permission and get permission from the talent department, and then they would talk to the publicist. It's like, yeah, he'll have 5 minutes when he's done there, or he's going to be hanging around the lobby for a couple minutes while they wait to get him in on like Mad Dog show or somebody else is there, so you can do it between then. So okay, if you got permission and you went through the right channel, you were allowed to do everything. So that's how
Yeah.
you got photos and did favors for the talented people, the publicists, all that. So that's how you could get all that stuff. You can't just show up and like, holy shit, such and such is in the building, I'm gonna run and grab a photo. You have to ask permission. If you just walked up to them and said I had a photo, you could get like in a lot of trouble, if not fired.
Yeah. Yeah,
for that.
totally. And I mean, I don't even mean like mob scenes. I mean just them being in the building. There's a
Oh,
buzz.
mob scenes also are downstairs because they would you see so much of in the last decade and a half of TMZ being right outside our building.
Yeah.
Because
right.
where our building was right next door to us was Fox and Fox News. Across the street from them diagonally was CNN.
Radio City
Across the
Music
street
Hall.
a street from us was the Today Show studio, NBC, late night, all like everything
Yeah.
was all in that area. So they would just walk from building to building doing all their TV hits and stuff and what have you.
Sure.
So downstairs you would have crowds, you'd have security down there, and that you'd have people that were parting the crowd so they could go right into the SUVs to take them wherever they're going. You have all the guys that have the big cardboard fold out things that had like 19 different things for them to sign.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
nonsense. And then TMZ would be out there and if they were good with certain reporters, I think they were tipped off because those guys just knew to be there before it was even published. Like they'd be there in the morning, early in the morning, sitting there waiting with their camera for hope to get them as they're going into Howard. It's like, you don't even like Howard didn't even say that person was coming on the show tomorrow,
Yeah.
and they knew. So somebody's tipping them off, but that
Yeah.
you're right. It was a big deal to have that in the building. And that's where I think there's more value into Howard than people realize.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get Obama and Biden, like whether you like him or not, is irrelevant. He got
Yeah.
Obama. He had Biden in studio. He got Bruce Springsteen, who doesn't do radio shit. He got all of these people in there that are big deals. He gets McCartney in more
Yeah.
times than anybody's ever got a chance to talk to a Beatle.
Yeah.
There's the value in that. That show can bring in those people, can command that thing, and then it trickles down into the rest of Sirius. And how publicity Howard gets, also Sirius can piggyback off of that. Sirius XM host Howard Stern. That's how they can phrase it on there.
Yeah.
And that all means something to them. So that's where the celebrity guests, the archives, whatever. I don't think where can Howard go? Like he could go and start his own thing. I don't know if he wants to at this point, but I think he'll, unless he really is done, which I don't know if you're ever you've been in this business. We could do this till we die.
Yeah.
Like it's not like
Yeah.
physical hard work. I don't know if he'll ever be done with this. So who knows? He could walk away because they're offering piss money, or they could just say you're not worth the money anymore because we
Mhm.
just spent, $100 million contracts on 6 different shows in the last year or so. You're not worth the money anymore. Who
Yeah.
knows at this point? All I do know is that his show isn't canceled.
Yeah.
And that's
for
what was
sure.
bothering me the most. Like you're taking the word of the Sun
Son.
as
Yeah.
this is the end all be all. I know people don't like him. I know they don't like his politics. I know they certainly don't like him because he told them that if you vote or fan of Donald Trump or whatever, don't
Yeah.
listen to my show. I know that was the wrong thing to say.
For sure.
I get all of that, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but logistically and looking at it on paper, he's worth a lot of money still. I don't know if he's worth the money that he was getting from Sirius XM.
100 million? No way.
That's
No
Sirius's
way.
decision to make. If they think he's worth that, that's their pocketbook to open up and pay for that. We have nothing to say about that. I just know there is value to him. I don't know if he stays any longer.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
He's just not canceled. They didn't fire him. That's what pissed me off.
Yeah. It's Erik Nagel is the show. You can catch that wherever. Thank you so much, Erock, for doing this. I love talking to you, man. It's always fun. Yeah,
the
absolutely.
show is on, you can get it on the iHeartRadio app, Apple, Spotify, wherever. And then we do the show live. So it goes out on the radio the next day, but we tape it on Thursday nights live on YouTube and on Twitch. I can't do this thing. There we go. It's Erik Nagel on YouTube and Twitch. Go there, subscribe. You can join us live when we do it, or if you can't be bothered with any of that stuff, believe me, I know I wouldn't be there if I didn't have to. You could go and just watch the show recordings up there, best of bits, all that stuff. It's all right there. YouTube channel. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Erock, and we'll do it again soon, pal.
Are you hating Arizona?
No, dude, it's actually been kind of nice. It hasn't been that hot this summer. I'm actually going to head home next month to Detroit. I'm going to join Carl and Who Are These Podcasts?
Oh, yeah. You guys have a live show.
Yeah, they're doing a live show. So I'm going to come to town, do Drew's show a couple
days.
Dave
Landau's going to be there, too.
Oh, yeah. Dave will be there. I adore Dave.
I love Dave.
Yeah, he's the best. So
I wanted to ask you about Arizona because my co-host is from Arizona.
Yeah.
And he's telling me that you guys have had record-breaking heat again this summer. And also that you're in the middle of tarantula season.
Dude.
He's finding these around his property.
Okay, hold on.
So much so that we looked up your local news stuff there, and here's like the headlines. Heads up, Arizona. It's tarantula season as the critters search for something called Arizona's Family, CBS 5. I don't know what network that is, but yeah.
This was on my wall last night.
Yeah, move. There's
dude.
Don't live there. You're in the desert.
This, for context, this is bigger than my palm. This guy right here is bigger than my palm.
Yeah. You need to move.
That's the first one I've seen this season. There's one that lives by the gate.
Yeah.
Last year, I'm assuming he's dead or she's dead. But this guy showed up last night.
Never assume, always confirm, because then you'll be dead.
Yeah. Yeah. They kind of leave you alone, but the dog was going nuts barking at it last night. It was like, yeah.
Move.
But so where I am, I'm in Scottsdale and I'm up kind of on a mountain, and where we are, oops, did we lose Erock? It's not as hot as it in Phoenix. So if they're having record-breaking heat in Phoenix, there you are. If they're having record-breaking heat, I'm not experiencing
the power
it
flashed, and all of a sudden my camera went away.
So I haven't had the heat wave that they're having in like Phoenix, where it's like 115. Like mine, it's like 100, and it's just not that bad. I know people make fun of the dry heat thing, and I've got a pool, so it just hasn't been that bad.
Yeah, my co-host is in the Phoenix area, and he shows me dashboard things and outside, and he's just like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna join the rest of the world today because I'll burn." The second he walked out there. So
Move. By the way, before we wrap up, did you? Yeah, I know. Believe me, I'm looking forward to going to Detroit next month. Did you see the new Naked Gun movie?
I have not. Jordan has. He said he actually really liked it.
I heard it's awesome, and I saw on your show from this week, it was one of your topics. I was like, oh, I've got to ask Nagel if that's good.
Yeah, somebody, a friend of mine went and bought me the. I haven't gotten it from him yet. Otherwise, I would show it to you physically. But they, you know how popcorn buckets are the big craze?
Yeah. Yep.
For movies and things like that.
Yeah.
He got it's the soda cup with the police light on it.
Oh, wow.
Like the beginning of the movies where it's on the
for sure.
And you see the car driving through all the places like that. So you have that there. It lights up and spins the siren and everything on the top of your soda thing.
Oh,
So
for $50 you can buy that soda?
I'm sure, I don't know what he paid for it, because he's like, "Oh, I got you one of these," and I said, "That's fantastic. I'm not paying for it."
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it was nice for him to do it out of the kindness of his heart, because I told him I'm not paying for it.
yeah. Well, remember, don't forget your homework, Heather Graham.
That didn't happen. I'll just put it on the line and say, you need to find this clip of where it is. I'm not searching for it.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
And I'll
Check
send it
your
to you.
history, find where it is, because this would be shocking to our
Okay.
world if that is the case.
Okay. Well, it's 10 o'clock, Erock. Do you know where your children are?
Somewhere upstairs untethered. Yes.
Have a great night. Thank you for spending so much time, buddy. I really appreciate it. And I will find that clip at some point here and I'll send it to you.
You do that. Thank you.
I will.
Everybody.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.